think that's gone live. Yep, I haven't got my selfie stick or anything like that. I was busy earlier on, so I was chucking it down my rain. I was going to go and do other things, but I couldn't be arsed. The weather was just depressing, like. So I've done a fair bit earlier on anyway, and I just thought I'd decide to come in and get a coffee and a bit of cake. And I thought, well, I got a comment on one of my videos, one of the banger race videos that I put up, and I was wanting me to talk about some of the experiences that I experienced during when I tried out banger racing years and years ago. I only had a few shots, like, not many, but I did try it out, and I thought, well, come on, I'll do it now. But as usual, I'm unprepared. I just do it. I just wing it most of the time. So I haven't got my selfie stick, so I'm basically just balancing my phone on the jacket there behind the camera. I've got myself parked here in the Starbucks car park. Hello, whoever's joined. Yeah, so just going to have I was just thinking that I was coming down the Kingsway earlier. I was busy earlier on doing a few things, some of which were I was interested in checking out the old transformer area on Long Hill Road in Whitfield. It's where I used to stay since I was born. I was 5 actually, 1975 to 1980, and I remember it well, the transformers, because of the buzzing sound it used to make. And for years and years they were there, like. And it was only fairly recently that I started noticing workmen and lorries and lots of activity going on. It seems like they're upgrading the transformers, and me being interested in that sort of stuff anyway. I couldn't resist but ask the workers, what was going on. Hello, whoever's joined. And it was very good of them to, I wasn't distracting them. Obviously I wasn't allowed in the site, but I was able to get some, like, just from on the public side of the fence, I was able to zoom in with the camera and get some pictures. But I obviously had to let them know what I was doing. So that was one of the things I'd done earlier. But the weather was just utter shite today. And then I thought, well, I'm going to go and try out some of the buses that Dundee Explorer have got, second hand from London. I've never driven one of them yet, but I went on as a passenger because my long weekend off. So I thought I would try it out as a passenger just to see what they're like. But they are a bit, they're quite small for a deck. There used to, well, the seating capacity is a bit different because it used to be dual doors, and they took away the centre door. But even still, there's not much. Oh, the chaps are on yet. Hi, Janet. Good evening. I wasn't sure if they were actually. I'll just check. Which is visible. Yeah, it should. So yeah, I tried out one of them. But before that, I went to the Transport Museum today as well. It's always good to go to the, even though you've maybe visited the museum before, it's always good to go back again just to see what sort of things have changed, because the update. Yeah, not bad, thank you. Hope you're doing all right as well. Thanks for. So yeah, as I say, it was a spur of the moment thing to do it live because I was on my way back down, just coming down the Kingsway there, and I thought I'll just drop into here. The rain was utter depressing. It was pissing down here. I thought I'd get myself a cake and a coffee. Wow. If you know me, you know I like my cake and coffee. But yeah, so I was doing that. It's worth going to the museums and that. The Dundee Transport Museum is really quite an interesting place to visit, because I say they changed the exhibits. A lot of them are on loan and that from their donations and that, and loans. So the exhibits are changed quite regularly. So it's always worth going down to just keep up with what's going on. Like, it's not a case of that you just visit it and then you see it all. Like, it's not like that. You know, I went there and there was a lot of things that had changed. Because things change anyway, just naturally through the natural process. And that's how the museum works, basically, you know. Oh, I maybe should have had this first. It's amazing how good something tastes when you know you're not really meant to be doing that. You know, it always tastes better if you get it for free. Well, if you can, you're not supposed to. Like if you're in, say example, like you see when I was at school, right, way back in the 80s, you weren't allowed to eat in class. You know? Somebody sneaked stuff in. And the food tasted better. You know, something just tastes better if it's either free or if you're doing it on the fly or something. You know, if you're skiving, or not skiving, but if you've got time, I don't know, it's just psychological. It tastes better, it just feels better. But if you've got the time, you know, it's just mundane, like, you know. So here I'm eating on a live stream. I couldn't resist, and I'm actually really enjoying it. I'm quite hungry, like. It was a spur of the moment, as I say. I thought I'd put a wee thumbnail with a picture of when I went out earlier to do the thumbnail for this, I went out, the rain was absolutely pissing down. So I couldn't hang around the hood up and everything. I was trying to get a back view with this advertising thing that was reflecting off the ground. It looked really quite smart. And the car headlights coming up on the Kingsway, I was trying to get it all to blend in. But I couldn't stay up too long, and the water was getting into the camera, so I thought, well, but no, I'll just have to make do with what I've got. So I try to emphasise that on the thumbnail with this, but it came out as good as it did. Some chucks, I see them. If it does taste, and when it's free, yeah, it does actually, yeah. Better not either. Yeah. Aye. Yeah, it does. It always is when you know you're. I don't know what it is. It's like again, you're not really meant it. It's just better taste, like, yeah. But well, I've been busy over the weekend there actually. First of all, on the Saturday. You'd think I'd wait to eat this first day. Not my like. It's just a safe thing. But, I went through to Loch Gelly Raceway to watch the banger racing, and sometimes if you've got a bigger turnout of cars, it's better. You know, you get a lot more action. But the turnout wasn't really. It wasn't the biggest I've seen. It wasn't great really, but there was a small turnout. But they did put a show on. Obviously, you know, you got to appreciate those that put on the effort. Although there weren't many. I like it when there's loads of bangers out on track, because you get all the action. But there was a rare car in that last meeting. It was an MG. It was the same year it was me actually. It was 1975. I checked. The registration, you can actually check it. And I was curious, and I typed it in. It came out June 75. So it's a month older than me. So that car has been on the go all that time, and it ended that night. And I've got the video footage on my channel for the 29th of July 2023, Saturday night, Back to Basics banger. So if you want to see that car, and just go on my channel and have a look. Some venues actually do a format called Pre-68 bangers. Ah, hi Jim. Yeah. I know you were saying something about you're really keen on watching me eating while in video. It's always the case, like, I just never rehearse anything. I don't, it's just how they are. And it was just time. But I finished. So well, I've got my last bite of my cake, but just look away. But I'll give you this. If you're coming down to the Starbucks on just off the Kingsway at Myerkirk, is it Myerkirk? Just at Beardy. Try out the caramel cake with the caramel slice cake. Oh, delicious. I love cake. Goes down well with a coffee. But yeah, as I say, I just thought I think it was yourself that was asking about my banger race experience. That was partly the reason I was wanting to do that. I could have made a video on it, but I've actually made a video already. There's a couple to go up about the buses that I tried out today. But yeah, you were asking the banger racing. When I tried it out, I think you might have read that comment I gave you. It was a big long paragraph. There's so much. I was actually thinking of making a video of it in its own right, but no, I thought, well, no, come on, I'll just do it live and be easier. So the first time I tried it out was unofficially, I won't name the yard because it was, you know, when you do banger racing, it's supposed to be done in a proper safe environment. You have, like in a banger, you've got a roll bar going up one side along the roof and down the other, but that's it. It's not, the car isn't strengthened in any way, but you need to have that roll bar because for the very name it says it's in case it rolls over. And also, if any, you need a door plate along your driver door, because if you get an impact on the driver door with a banger coming in, the car will just go, it'll come right in, and you'll get, you know, isn't bear thinking about. So you need to have a door plate on the outside, but that's all. The rest of the car is just standard. So it'll just buckle up in a crash like any other car would on the road. And that's what makes banger racing exciting. But the unofficial shot I had back in summer 2006, there was no preparations whatsoever. The car still was glass, everything was there. It was all dressed in normal car. It was a scrap car, and I wasn't meant to, but you know, it was because but it was on private ground, so nobody could, you know. But I did have a shot. I was excited. I enjoyed it. Like, I watched it as well. But the official shot that I had after that was at Birmingham Wheels Raceway, 2007, a year later. It was extreme dodging, extreme racing they called it, but they were the actual 1300cc cars. And we went on the track and raced, and I actually won it. But I wasn't really caring about winning. I was just enjoying it so much, going well, and I was hoping for a good crash and that. Although I did have one, but it wasn't that bad. But I got a medal for that. I've never even got it ingrained. I've not even put my name. It's a medal that I use for the if you watch my Lego project series, episode 7, I reenact the banger racing with my Lego models, and I used that trophy that I won for the backdrop from the Lego ones. So, but I've never got my name put on it yet. Like, obviously, I wasn't really too bothered about it. I was just there for the fun. I couldn't really. I mean, 2010 was the time I went in the actual 1600cc banger. There was 50 other bangers round on the track. The first time I ever raced at that arena down in London, Wimbledon, and it was through the company called, well, the race team called Cecil's Rent-A-Rookie. Steve Ancombe, I think it was, and that team's well known. They've done stunts for TV films, bits, you know, visors. I'm sure they've done something for some of the you know, the car chases and crashes and that. But they're on Top Gear as well, so they're well known. So I went with them 2010. Did you have a bird crash, Jim? Yes, I did. Yeah. I'm just going to get to that actually. The 2010 banger race meeting, that was 1600cc. There was lots of other events on. There was an unlimited bangers as well on that night. It was the London Gala night. In fact, they were both gala nights. There was a gala night in Ipswich a year later, which is the one that had the big crash, the hard crash, and that was at the same company, the same race team, Cecil's Rent-A-Rookie. I mean, the preparations, they wouldn't come up to Scotland just for one. They would have to go down. So I went down there to do it, like. And it was as I say, the London one, it was a big event. I think there was 47 bangers or something that were on that meeting. So I was there pretty nervous. Well, extremely nervous. But I was very excited. I really wanted to do it. But it was great fun to get the experience. I done actually not alright, I suppose, on that one. The car was good. It was an Estate Mark III Astro 1600. And yeah, it was the Estate, and I think it had my name. I picked a number. It was 743. They put the Scottish flag on it because I knew I'd come all the way down from Scotland to London to do that. I wonder if that made me a target, I don't know. But I think I done that. I had a big crash at the end on that one on the final heat. I think I was probably doing something like 45 to 50 mile an hour. Now, it was a stationary banger, well, it spun out in front. I was against, the front end was, his rear I think was against the wall, and the front end was in my path. There was bangers on my offside. And I went in, and before you know it, the thing when you have a banger, a crash in a banger, or indeed in any vehicle, because physics, laws of physics are the same. I was going that way and I crashed. I was suddenly facing 90 degrees. I felt my teeth. Again, if I'd had my tongue between my teeth, I would have bit through it. I felt, it happens so quick, just like that. Really does. A fraction of a second. You can't think about what happened because it happens so fast. It's just physics. You think the speed that you're travelling at, when it's suddenly come to a stop, the only stopping force is the car crushing into the other car. That's it. So you're travelling from 50 mile an hour to 0, and the length, the distance, the width of the length of the bonnet. They've got the engine block there as well. So all that's all. You're stopping from 50 and about that much. So you're coming to a sudden stop. The cars that have got crumple zones in them to absorb the impact. I don't know how many people realise, but when you're in an impact, car crash, there's three major things that go on. The actual two cars that collide is the first collision, and then you've got the unrestrained, the occupants in the car. They're going to collide with whatever or anything that's in the car. Is travelling at that speed is going to collide with the inside of the car. And if they're unrestrained with a seatbelt, you're going to hit the steering wheel or whatever you're going to be coming into contact with. That's why the dashboards are all designed to, they've got airbags and that anyway. But that's the second major impact. And of course the third major impact is all the internals of the body, the organs and that, because that's travelling, everything is travelling at the speed you were travelling at. And it's all coming to a stop very suddenly. It could do internal damage, but it could happen later. It could be a delayed reaction, a delayed shock. And that's the sort of things that go on in impacts. And it's the speed, the speed that you're travelling at. 30 mile an hour, for example, you might think it's dead slow. It's nothing. You don't appreciate how fast that really is. If you're the multimeters that covers in 1 second, the car lengths that covers, it'll cover its own car length like that. You just blink. There's all the figures in that. I can't remember them off the top of my head, but a steady just add it up. Just the distance meters per second, is it? So if you're travelling that quick, think of it this way: if you're in the house, say your house is 30 foot long, right, and something's travelling at 30 mile an hour, it's going to be from the whole length of your house, from that, the whole length will be covered like that. So if you've got a remote control car, you think that that's quite fast, but then you scale it down as well, you see, because remote controls are obviously smaller, but then you could work it out just how quick 30 mile an hour is. With a remote control car, for example, if you're travelling proportionally, it'll be probably quicker. So maybe, I'm trying to think now, car say 15 foot long, right? So whatever distance that travels at 30 mile an hour, it'll pass its own length in a given time. So you'd have to do the scale down version for the remote control car. If it's say 1 in 18, then the car will be 18 times shorter in length, but it's got to cover its own length in the same time as it would do for the full size car to travel its length in that same time, travelling at 30 mile an hour. So it's really fast, but a modern car, if you're travelling at these speeds, you don't feel it. You can't appreciate how fast it is until you actually have an impact. But when you're doing like high speed driving on the motorway, 70, but in realistic terms, in real life it's 70 plus, is it? I mean, 70 mile an hour is the limit, but I mean, hell, I was doing about 80, 82, at some point I was at 85, overtaken, like I shouldn't. 80, 70 is the limit. And there were still cars on my tail wanting past. So they must have been doing a ton, 100 mile an hour. Again, so in real life, that's the sort of speeds that go on in the real world. But you imagine crashing at these speeds. And I'll let you say, 30 mile an hour, you just divide a mile, 1600 metres. So you're travelling 30 miles in 1 hour. That's 2 minutes to travel a mile. So you're 2 minutes to do 1600 metres. So you're in 1 minute, that's half that, 60. You could do the maths. You just divide it by 60 and then divide it by 60 again. You'll get the number of meters, and he's travelling a second, and it is fast. And when you're driving, but some people, you're driving in the car, modern car, you got the window, the air conditioning, or the blower, heater, radio, windows shut. You don't hear the noise. You don't feel like you're going this quick. It just feels dead slow if you're doing 30. Even somebody's 50. If you're on the motorway and you're doing 70, 50 feels like you're stopped. But this complacency about crashing as well, the dangers of it, the stopping time, the think time, the minute you touch the brake pedal, it's the reaction time. You've got to see what's happening. The brain's got to decide when the physical time it takes you to actually physically move your foot onto the brake pedal. That's why I always drive, even with the cruise control on, I always have my foot next to that. I keep my foot awake, if you like. It's next to the right of the accelerator, so it's always awake. I don't tuck my feet back when I've got cruise control on, because it'll hinder your braking time, because you've got to wake your foot up, so to speak. Your foot's always on standby when you're, if it's on the right, just hovering over or near the accelerator, so it's just ready to go to that brake pedal should you need it. But if you're sitting too relaxed, you're going to hinder your time. I mean, you're travelling at speed, and the amount of distance is inconceivable for a human to grasp, because we weren't designed for these speeds. Technology has put all that to us, and obviously we're modern, we're acquainted to it, but the fastest human could run at 20 miles. I was a fast runner, but I wasn't like an athlete. I could have done if I'd stuck at it, but I was pretty good at I got medals and that when I was at the high school and that, and but they say 20 mile an hour. I don't know what the record is. 20 mile an hour, that's considered very fast for a human. But when you're dealing with speeds above, what we're designed to do, and you could become complacent quite easily, and you don't appreciate how fast that you're travelling until something goes wrong. When you think, if you're on a push bike, you come off at 20 mile an hour, you'd know all about it. But in a car, you don't really appreciate it. And I was just looking at that old car that's going past. I'm not going to move the camera up because I did that mistake before. It just upsets everything. But yeah, the think time, when you're banging a racing, you've got the 6-point harness you're locked in. Now, my experience of it when I done it was I couldn't move. The seat was as far back as I could go, which is good. I've got long legs and I've got little big feet anyway. But I always sit with the seat. Well, this seat's always far back. When I'm on the bus, I put the seat right back. I drive that way partly because I've got size 12 feet for a start. I don't know what the leg to body ratio is, but my height's about 6 foot, but I'm 6 foot, and I always have the seat back. So the one thing about the bangers is if you're shorter and you can't reach the pedals, the seat's right back because it's tied to bolted to the cross bar, across the roll cage. You have to have an insert put into the seat to bring you forward. It's like that at the go-karts. If you can't reach, you have to put like an insert into the go-karts. Well, I don't have that problem, but if that were the case, then you would do that. But the first thing I noticed anyway, when I went into the banger for the first time, the official bangers for the first time, not the 1300cc, that was actually Birmingham wheels. It was the stock car formula. But when I was with Cecil's Rent-A-Rookie, the big, it's a Brighton they're based. It's a big stock car. It's a big banger race team anyway. They're well known, as I say. They've been on the TV and obviously starring Top Gear as well. First time I went in with one of the bangers there on the gala night, the seat was right back. You're harnessed in. You can't move your head like that because you break your neck and an impact. So you're only moving like that. You got the helmet on for the start, so you feel totally alien for one. You've got to have the overalls on, the race gear for fireproofing, steel toe caps, I think, was it? You weren't allowed trainers, but you needed to have. I think I had steel. I always wear shoes anyway. I think they were. I can't remember what I did with footwear. I wouldn't be trainers. I never wear trainers anyway. But I think it had to be. I can't remember if they supplied me shoes or not. But gloves as well. I wore gloves because remember, there's no windscreen. So you're hurtling along at 60 mile an hour with a windscreen, and you're hurtling like that. Your hands freeze. and it was done in November. Both my banger race experiences with Cecil's Rookie was done in November. The unofficial one was summer, 2 summer and 2 winters, so 4 altogether, 4 sessions, in the 4 years. And November was bloody cold at night, because it was in the evening. It was a gala night. It was a Saturday night that had done them, and so you've got gloves. You need gloves. Your hands will freeze otherwise. And it's also for any like debris. You don't want to cut your hand on any sharp metal or stuff. So you're harnessed in big time, so it keeps you locked to the seat. Because like I said earlier, the forces involved in an impact at these speeds, it doesn't look very dramatic on the outside, and it seems that was just a blown hit when you're standing watching it as a spectator. But it's different when you're in it, I can assure you, because even just getting spun out. I was driving the banger down the back straight on, I think it was I can't remember which one it was, the first one of was it the 2010 or 2000, I can't remember. I think it was 2011 actually. It was heat 1 or 2, there was 3 heats. Can't remember what heat it was, but anyway, I was racing along, and I got spun out hard, and the actual coil spring on the back suspension come out, and I was facing 180 degrees, and I seen the coil spring coming towards my coil spring coming towards me. That was fucking mental, like. That happens so quick in the steering wheel as well. Another thing with the steering wheel is that if you hit it, if you have your thumbs in, it'll take your hand round with you. You don't want to do that, you want your thumbs out, because that steering wheel goes fucking mental when you get hit, like. Because the wheels are getting, you know, it's mechanic, it's physically, it'll snap the wheels and rip the steering linkages off in most cases anyway, but it does jerk that wheel. When you get spun round, it happens so quick. And another thing is, there's no rear view mirror, so you don't know when it's going to happen. That's the really thing, the terrifying bit. There's no wing mirrors. Some bangers, the Back to Basics had the wing mirrors, but for all the good they're going to do, because they just get broken off. But there was no rear view mirror, and because it could be impaled. If that goes over and that roof comes in, and there's a bit sticking there, it could come into you. But oh, it sounds very dangerous. Would you not consider doing it again? It'd be great to see you turn around the Lake Lochgilly. Yeah, Jim. The guy, when I done that 2011 one, the guy said to me, one of the race team with that company says, "So is it same time next year?" I says, "No way, no, I've had enough." No danger. And he says, I think somebody says, "Never say never." Well, 12 years has gone by near enough. I haven't wanted to do it again. But then I'm getting older now. I mean, I'm 48 now. Back then that was close. And sitting at the busy roundabout, I just saw a car just about to get hit by that lorry. It just looks worse for the angle. It just looked pretty dodgy, like. But no, I was, what was it, 36 when I done it last. First time was 2006, so I was 31. So I was younger, like, yeah. But I think as you get older, you want what I do, in an actual worry, I always have been. But I think more about it. I think what happens if that bit of metal comes right through that, you know, and then saying, oh, no, no danger. No, I wouldn't do it again. I mean, I don't think I'd, never say never, but if I were, I would definitely get it filmed. Oh, too right, I would. The 2011 one was a bit, the engine was just shite. It kept on misfiring. It was I think what they've done is the carburetor, it was originally an injection, it was a single point injection, and they took the air filter off or something, but it just kept coughing. The engine was just splitting and coughing. It was not running right, and it kept putting me in a vulnerable situation, because other bangers was coming round. I got some speed up at some points, but other times it just kept conking out. It does happen a lot, but when you're in the car and it's doing it to you, it's fucking terrifying. But then you get hit, then you're a target, but getting spun round is quite something else, and seeing the coil spring, your own coil spring, coming towards you, because you're facing 180 degrees and you hit the brake and you're skidding like that. But no, I'm not, and by no means a veteran banger racer, but I'm a veteran spectator. I've been in other cars as well, like not unofficial. Like I know a good mate of mine, known him for years. I'm not seeing him as much these days, but I mean it now. He's writing to his cars, He knows his cars, like, and I've been in some of his cars. But he's sort of, I never ever get involved in taking anything like that. That, you know, It doesn't belong to me, but I wouldn't go in it, and I never was. But he knows his stuff, and he's been, let's say, he's been chased. I don't. I've never got into that, but I know him. Interested in learning what's happening with the cars and that. And I was in one of these cars. I had the speed. I had a shot of it as well, but there was no brakes on it. Basically, well, there was actually 50-50 brakes, but there was brakes, but it was half braking because you've got cross brake lines. So basically, your front and rear, front right and rear left is one cross, and front left and rear. It's a front right, rear left is one circuit. Front left and rear right is the other circuit. So if one of these circuits fail, it's got to be diagonal, because or somewhere on the front of your axle, but you can't have both wheels on one side braking, because the thing will turn. That's how an army tank turns, because it makes the tracks on that side go slower or faster. So the same effect would happen if you lose braking on one side of your circuit. Some old cars didn't have that dual braking, dual split circuit. So if you lost your brakes, you lose all your hydraulic fluid. You only have your handbrake, parking brake, which is the ratchet and cable and gears. But the car that he drove us in, this is going way back to the 90s, by the way. He had a Rover. Oh yeah, fucker, did you hear that? Fuck's sake, that big truck. Another car. So that's what I saw earlier, But something like that happening. The Rover, what was it, a Rover 3, it was an SD1. See if you watch that film Clockwise with John Cleese in it. At the very end, the cop car is doing the chicanes round this lorry that tips over or drops its loads, its fruit, and rolls all over the road. It's right at the very end of it, and you see a Rover ST, it turns in it. It's quite smart. Clockwise, 1985 film with John Cleese in it. At the very end, where they're leaving, John Cleese getting arrested, and he goes right, no, left and right or something. Like getting that John Cleese, Brian Stimson in the film. Well, the cop car, the police car behind was a traffic one. It was a Rover SD1. It was one like that. Man, the way he chicanes around there was quite smart. If you watch that, if you get a chance, like, you'll know the type of car that I mean. But yeah, the other one was a Volvo 440. That had no brakes. My other mate, he's... Oh, fuck. Oh, pass, I wouldn't even mention the sort of shenanigans that... But yeah, I've been in this car, so I know what it's like, and to a degree, and it certainly wouldn't be... I'm not being biased, but no, I didn't muck around like that on the roads, no way. No. So I've never actually had I should never say that, but I've never had a crash. Not my fault. Not through my fault. Touch wood. Shouldn't have. Why did I go and say that? No, I'm just bragging. But I've been involved in bumps that have run into me, like, but that's not nice. Touch wood. Everybody's had a bump, like hit a lamppost when they're reversing. The very first car I done that. The Mark III Escort. It was doing a 3-pointer, not indicator off the back. And another one I was pissing about, actually. There was a fence, and I thought I'd get smart and try and get the car up. Unbeknown to me, I took the other indicator. Get shite like that, Not serious, but... so yeah, it was quite interesting. I'm always interested in the bagger races. I always have been since 2003 as a spectator. Officially been going to the race. Well, there wasn't Lochgelly. There wasn't a Lochgelly Raceway at that time. Lochgelly Raceway in Fife opened in April 2010. I was there on its very first day opening. I remember the event. I remember watching the first rollover on the 1300cc's, and there was a scar made on the ground on its very first day that it opened. And I don't know if it's still there now, like, but I know where it happened. I've been meaning to try and see if I could see it, but I remember it was the very first. Can't remember the exact date, but I think it was April. It was definitely 2010. It was April 2010, the very first meeting at Lochgelly Raceway. And now look at Lochgelly Raceway. It's hosting some of the biggest events in the country. It's part of the Sperryworth racing organisers for the stock car oval race circuits. It's only a couple of miles north of Kildenbeath Racewall. So I find it really odd, really, why they'd run two meetings at the same day, so close to one another, but they have done. The other stock car circuit in Scotland is the North Pole, as it's nicknamed, and that's up at Crimond. Right, Chris Hill's things. Fleet. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing alright, thanks. Oh, is that all night, Mike? Yeah, I hope you're doing alright. Yeah. But yeah, no, I've been the drive like the way some cars have been when they're turning on at crazy breakneck speeds. What was I saying? The other circuits, Crimond. Alright. Crimond Raceway. As I say, it's a long drive from Dundee. It's 100 miles. It's between Peterhead and Fraserburgh. But there is probably, I'm sure when I was on holiday up at Johnny Groats, there was something up on Thursday, because I saw a sign saying stock car racing. But I don't know if it's part of any organisation, the organisation, the main stock car body, oval race circuit or whatever it is, institute or organisation or something. It's OCR, is it oval race circuit, something, I can't remember. I don't know if they were part of that or if it was just a small sort of local thing. But that was years ago I saw that. But I did clock it, like, so I've always wondered if that was another one. They used to sometimes do stock car racing at the Knock Hill. Knock Hill is the main racing circuit, like that is actual about racing, not about smashing into each other. That's actually racing. You get some stuff going on there, like, I've been there a few times, it's worth it. It's really good. They do the rally cross there as well. Knock Hill in Fife, it's not far from Dunfermline for those who don't know where it is. And they used to do stock cars there on Wednesday evenings. But they never done bangers, but they did pro stocks, which is like a sort of class up from bangers. Same type of cars, more or less, and same construction, more or less, as well. But it was semi-contact, not actual destruction derby. I think that was partly because of this. You didn't want to wreck their track, because it is a racetrack. It's an actual race circuit, but the part of that circuit there was an oval bit where they could form an oval for the saloon, for the stock cars, and the formula that I went to see was a pro stock. So there was others, F2s as well. It was great actually. It was quite good seeing stock cars at a different arena like that. But Knock Hill is good though for the actual racing. You could take, there's like track days where you could take your car on it. I used to work with somebody. I bought a car off him actually. He was a racer, like, he took his car on at the Knock Hill race circuit, and he was right into that. But I think that's the only one in Scotland. I think it is. Well, it's Crail as well. I had a shot at driving a Porsche on the Crail drag strip, but there is a bit of a, I think they made a bit of a circuit there as well. It was Experience, Scotland Experience I went through for that. It costed 130 quid, and I got, I think, 3 heats or something, 3 shots. But I wasn't racing against anybody, I was just racing around the track, like, as an experience. I think it was called Scotland Experience Race there, so I was going back probably 10 years ago or something. I've got pictures, I have to look back, but it was great fun, like. But I wasn't allowed to be let loose on it, unfortunately. No, the guy was there, Ken, he was keeping me right. It would have been great if I could just say, like, there's the keys and go for a spin. Oh, brilliant, that'd be great. But no, you had to wear the helmet on, you had to go through the briefing and all that stuff. Really, well, yeah, seriously, because like I said earlier on, it's serious stuff. People don't appreciate, people may not appreciate and may become complacent about the dangers of speed, how speed can actually, the amount of effort. Fuck me, thank goodness actually, I thought the car was leaking, it's not. It's just that I had the window open a wee bit in the water. So it better not be in the seals, it's no, it's just the window was open a wee bit, thank goodness. But yeah, the distance covered, and as I say, you've got the reaction time, your brain's got to see what's happening up ahead to then think, I must brake. Then the body's got to physically move its the organs to get that foot onto that brake pedal. Then you've got the brake pedal, all the mechanisms in the car, the hydraulics, the condition of the tyres, the condition of the road, the condition of the fluid, the condition of the brake pads, the discs, drums, whatever. The condition, all that's taken into consideration. Then, by the time all that's been considered, the amount of distance that's been travelled in that split second times. I mean, you divide 30 mile an hour is just like, as I say, that's 1600 metres in 2 minutes, because you travel a mile in 2 minutes at 30. So that will travel a metre. You'd have to divide. I'm not doing it in my head. I've not got my unfortunately my calculator's on the phone. It's ridiculous, eh? I've got to use a calculator for this. I wish I could do it in my head. I was better at it. That's how technology has changed humans. Arithmetic, thinking things. I wouldn't have done that if I was not in it, to be like the calculator figuring it out. But just shows you. But no, you divide the distance. So 1600 metres is a mile. 30 miles per hour. You're travelling 1 mile in 2 minutes, 120 seconds. So you need to divide 1,600 metres by 120 to find out how many metres you're travelling per second. So roughly, what's that? 120. That's 10. I don't know, was that about 20 or 30 metres or something? Something like that. That's about. This car's 5 metres, 15 foot. My car's what? It's 15 foot long. It comes in about just under 5 metres, I think. So it's 3 car lengths, isn't it? 30 metres. No, that's 6 car lengths, yeah. It's shocking, isn't it? How rusty I am. 6 car lengths in a second. 6 car lengths. So, like I was saying, to put it in proportion, to give you something to proportion it with. If your house is, my house is going by my flat, it's about 28 feet long. Because I just live in a flat shoebox. But it's big enough, like, yeah, it's got 2 bedrooms and that. Well, 2.5, because my dad's he's a good with joinery and that. He's able to put an unofficial partition, split the rooms up and that. Eh? So, but yeah, but there is height rather than the length. So, but for lengthwise, if your house was say 28 foot long, if you're travelling at 30 mile an hour, you've got a remote control car doing 30. Believe you me, it would be like fast. It'd be fast as fuck. Then you'd appreciate how fast 30 mile an hour really is. And like you say, you're driving a full-size car inside a modern car. You don't really think 30 mile an hour is like nothing. You think you could probably get out and walk. You'd open the door and walk out at that speed. It just feels like you're moving. But no, that's a complacency. People want to go faster and think they could brake late in the ice and the snow because they don't feel just how quick and how dangerous the speed is. You don't appreciate it. Then all that think time, you're covering distance. Even that time, there's nothing happening. You're still heading for it. And the thing that scares me as well is at night time. You're driving at night. A lot of things taken by chance. Well, it is anyway. Every day of your life, you're taking things by chance because anything could happen. But especially driving. But at night, and you've got your dips on, you can't really see what's on the road, on the actual road. It could be a big rock or something on it. And if your car's loaded up, which mine sometimes is loaded right up, and it's down at the back, that rock could just catch right under, make a right mess. It's just kind of like a lot of things are just taken by chance. And yet, I've had people right on my arse wanting to get past and everything, and then, if it's pissing you rain and they're wanting to get past and everything, you're so close, and they get the opportunity, they're pure accelerate like anything, probably hitting about 80 mile an hour on a 60 mile an hour road. I'm doing 60. Sometimes on the bends I'll drop down a bit, because I'm not a fast driver really. I'm not, actually, because I do worry. I'm not so worried. I don't like the thought of crashing. I'd take it cautiously. I always have. You can ask anybody that knows me. But I love racing, go-karts and stuff. I like speed. I enjoy it. I like being in it, but in a safe environment. I like the power and that, but I like to say, people, some of them I've seen just going tearing past because they just want to be in front, and then they hit a circle or a traffic lights. They're only just a few cars up ahead, but all that danger, do they really think just how dangerous that could be? And I've had to stop in the wet, in the piss poor conditions, all the spray and everything. I've seen it. It drives so close. And overtaking the lorry, which was overtaking the lorry on the motorway, three-lane motorway. It's spray on my windscreen. I can see next to nothing. Well, it's hard, and it's cars like this, especially when it's windy, and you still get them coming right up behind you. I mean, for fuck's sake, man. I'm hitting about 70 mile an hour, 75 sometimes, and accelerating past, maybe even touching 80, and they're still behind me. And as soon as I move into the middle lane, they're away. And do they think about how dangerous that is? Like I say, try stopping at these speeds. But if you crash at these speeds, oh, forget it. You're. But yeah, but say I was. Jim was the banger racing. No, it's totally different there because they've got the marshals. That are because in the actual circuit, there's marshals at every corner with fire. I was speaking to a marshal last meeting there, and he was telling me that they've got 2 fire extinguishers, there's a brush, they're fire trained, they've got to wear the fire overalls, they've got the radios on, so they can talk to each other. They've got to get permission from the chief marshal before they go on track. So everything's coordinated, and they've been watched. So any accidents, well, not it's the wrong word, is it? It's not really an accident if they're going deliberately. Any crashes and smashes at the banger races, they're watching for the driver signalling. For any, if the driver does, signals that they're wanting attention, they've got to stop that race and get the driver attended to. If a driver gives it the thumbs up or the signal, the recognised signal that they're trying to look for, then the race goes ahead. But if they're facing traffic on the door side, the doors facing the traffic, then it's pretty dangerous because there is a thick door plate there, but even still, I wouldn't like to be sitting there. And I always think, no, I don't think I'd want to do that again because if anything's sharp, I've seen the way the fronts of the cars they form, anything. But I just worry. I wouldn't have put them off going it because I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't want to put anybody off. But it's pretty scary now. I think back on it, it's like, Christ. That impact that I had, that bad crash I had in 2011, I was maybe going to get onto that. There was 2 bangers, 3 bangers on 3 abreast. There must have been, start again. There was probably about 50 bangers on the track, but they were all having their smashes and that. And my car let me down right at the end of the back straight, the long back straight where the cars get their maximum revs in second gear. The race round in second gear. So you could get maximum revs in second gear, you'd be hitting about 50, 60 mile an hour, depending on the gear ratio, maybe even 62, 63 mile an hour. So something between 55 and 60, I would say. Although they were pretty big, they were 1600s. Car it hit us, I don't know what type it was, but I'm going to say something nearer, probably 60 mile an hour. I'd be tearing down at the back straight. He was going down 3 abreast, he was in the centre. The other 2 bangers were on each side of him. I was stopped. My engine conked out right on the end of the back straight. And I wasn't going to go. I was sitting duck, and there's nowhere for the banger to go. The centre one ploughed into me full force. I was stopped. So I was a stopped car, and the banger went at 60 mile an hour right into the back. And the back axle of my car, the back wheels of my car, were up against the back of my driver's seat. If it wasn't for that roll cage, it may have been even further. But that's how hard it was, and it was bloody hard. And like veteran banger race drivers that were there, even they commented on it, saying that was a sore one. And that was them saying it, because they've been doing it for donkeys, and so that was enough for me. The thing, it just knocked the shit out of me. I was all right, but I was wanting out that banger. I kept playing back through. But I used my experience actually. I was going to mention now that I remembered the videos that I make, that I put on the channel. The videos that I put up on my channel about the banger racing. Some of them have the sort of special effects on it. You might have noticed. Just checking the charts. I don't know what's happening with these. I can't see anything. Maybe it's not coming up. But I put on my own sort of special effects with videos. But I try and really over what it's like in some cases, and what it may be like if you get sort of, I don't know, punch drunk would probably be a way of putting it. Try to emphasise what the impact's like. There's the crowds, young crowds, the older, the people in the crowds, the cheering, laughing and clapping and chanting everything. There's so much going on. But I'd bet not many of them will, well, I don't know. Do they think how much of the science behind what's happening, because I think like that. I think of the science of what's going on, you know. That's why when I go to the bagger racing, I don't really care who wins, to be honest. I don't really care. I don't really care about I just enjoy the actual action. I like the teams, obviously. It's good to see them winning, and yeah, it's very good. I appreciate that. It's great to see them shaking hands and getting the medal. Great, of course, they need incentive, and it's good to see them the joy of that as well. But it's like, you know, I don't really support teams as such. I mean, it's the ones that I speak to, and that, yeah, great, I wish them luck. I've always been like that in my life. I've sort of stayed neutral. I try to anyway. It's like football. I don't really get into taking sides as such. I mean, my mate, he's a die-hard United supporter, but because I went with him to the matches, I'm supporting him because I'm paying money to go in, so it's money and financially support. Sitting on their side, making sure that I don't cheer for the wrong team. I clap when they score a goal and go, fuck, go shit. But if they get scored against, you know, you got to do the part, like. But I don't wear the strip. The United. I don't wear any football strips. In fact, before 2019, I'd never, ever in my whole life set foot in a football match. First time I set foot in a football match. First time I went to a football match was in 2019. So it took me, how many years did that take me? That took me 44 years. And all that time I'd never been. I just wasn't in this. But as I say, the crowds in that, you know, they're cheering on and yeah, it's good. That's the way to do it. Like, you know, enjoy yourself. But I always like to think of the science that goes on behind it as well. What's actually happened, the physics. You know, what energy. You know that mass, kinetic energy is mass times speed. And there's I can't remember the formulas for it. The joules or whatever. But it's kinetic energy. And I think all the forces and all the formations and what's actually going on under there. How you look at some of the damage, the structural components. You're talking cast iron castings for the axles snapping in half because the impacts are enormous. Human beings weren't built for, you know, physically to handle these sort of things. But we are fragile, very fragile, and yet we play with such forces. You know, it's just amazing. You know, I find it fascinating. But a lot of emotions on things that I experience, and I'm linking them into the videos. It's a feeling of like being dazed, I suppose, if you get hit hard, and that it dazes you. I watched it. I got the idea from the Rocky movies. I was trying to put that in one of the comments. I was commenting to Jim. I wrote a big, huge paragraph, but to try and put it in words, it'd just be there forever. So it's easier to do this, like what I'm doing now, just saying it live. So if you're listening, you could and try to explain it. But it's like when I watched the Rocky 4 movie, I think it was Rocky 4 back when it came out in 1986 at the ABC Cinema. Rocky Balboa got hit that hard. There was one point where he sort of saw everything and everything went all weird. It was fascinating. That the colours changed, the sound, it was all merged in and everything. It just amazed me. You know, it's fascinating. Like. And to think that could be going on. I mean, I was speaking to, I won't name names or anything like that, but I was speaking to somebody that's into the bangers, and they were mentioning to me that during one of the races, it happens, you know, it does happen that the hit was hard. It knocked him, it momentarily knocked one of the drivers off. I'm not saying what venue it was at or anything. It's just, we're going to just talk in general, because I've been to all venues. I've not been to all venues. Well, I've been to all the Scottish ones, but I've been to many venues around the country over the years. I'm not going to say when, where, or what venue. I'm just going to say what I've heard that happened, and I've seen it as well, and I sensed it. I don't know, it's odd. It's like a sixth sense. I kind of sensed it when I saw it happening. I kind of had this feeling the driver was knocked out. I don't know why or how it does, because the subconscious, by the way, picks up a lot more than your conscious does. The subconscious picks up everything, but you're consciously aware of only so much at one time, otherwise you'd be in overload. But I don't know if it could have been subconsciousness, but I felt anyway that he was knocked out, and I was right. But I've seen hits harder than that before. It was just something about that one. I just don't know. There's a lot more going on than what we're like. Well, there's a lot more going on perhaps than what we may believe, that they're all there is to it in life. there may be a lot more. I believe in fuel. I know for a fact what I've experienced anyway. So especially when I talk about the Mandela effect, but I'm not going into this too long. But I know there's more to it. But anyway, that feeling I got was definitely something that kind of, I felt something. I just thought, I said, no, he's knocked out. And I was right. He was. But he was okay afterwards. Well, I don't know just how much what happened there, but from what I understand and what I saw, it seemed like he got the attention and he was okay, like, yeah, I mean, but just at that moment when the car pulled in, see, that's like the saying, you know, playing with fire, it's dangerous, but it's not, it's organised, and it's all done. There's safety rules and regulations that are there to keep it safe, to keep the sport safe. But it's amazing, it fascinates me, you know, playing with such forces like that. I mean, your average car, I don't know, it's a ton, just a ton and a half, 1.3 tons. You know how heavy that is? I mean, the average weight of a person is about, God knows, what's that about? And more than that, I wish I were, but... okay, try to put it into perspective now. Imagine trying to lift someone, right? It's bloody difficult, right? I mean, an adult, like, you know, not a kid, but if you lift somebody up, you know that it's not going to be very easy, is it? It's quite an effort. Well, you can multiply that weight, right, by about a factor of 10, right? That's how heavy. It's unimaginable. It's a huge, colossal weight. We're only designed to lift so much. You can't imagine how heavy that is. You can't. But when you think about that weight, travelling at speeds you can't even imagine, the fastest human, I think, is what, 20 miles an hour, right? Now, these speeds could be going all the way meters per second. You think if you're sitting in your house, it's 20 feet long or 28 feet, 30 foot long. Even at 30 miles an hour, imagine it was 60 miles an hour, right? At the time it would take from get from the full length, it'd be gone in the blink of an eye, right? You wouldn't see it, it'd be that fast, disappear. Because that's all the meters per second is. 60 miles an hour, you're travelling 1600 meters in 1 minute. So you could divide 1600 by 3000, no, 6, divide it by 60. I'll give you the number of meters per second. That's a lot anyway, it's double that of 30. So you imagine all that weight, you can't imagine. It's unimaginable, but you know what I mean? You can't imagine it, but it's bloody heavy. Now, travelling at that speed that you can't imagine. Now, imagine the efforts and forces in that. It's colossal, it's a huge force. You can't really put it into your mind how much energy is involved in it. If you look at the castings on the bodywork, the structures, you're talking about 1/4 inch thick steel, it's been snapped like a twig, you know. the effort, the forces. Now when you're inside, another thing you could do, if you go to even just go-kart, and try go-kart. Now you're not allowed to hit anybody on a go-kart, but inevitably bumps happen and you'll hit the side and spin out. Well, even better, right? Yeah, there's a good one for you. I'm sure most of people have been on the dodgems. You know, at the carnival, the dodgems, you pay a couple of quid and you get a wee shot in this electric dodgem. You're only doing about 2 miles an hour or something, right? Or 3 or 4 miles an hour, and you go for a head on, you're actually shitting yourself, because you do feel it. Not shitting yourself, but you know what I mean. You hit it. But it's kind of like, you know you're going to feel it. Yeah, but it'll be a laugh, like, but you know you're going to feel it if you do a head on with another one. Now that's only doing about, what, 4 miles an hour. So you've got 4 miles an hour plus 4 miles an hour, that's 8 miles an hour, right? So if you're doing 30 plus 30, right, you can or even 40 miles an hour, you can multiply that force by 10 times. Yeah, it kind of puts it in a little bit more perspective. So if you're not a dodge them, just kids dodge them, like, and you crash deliberately because you're meant to. Well, they call it dodge them, so you're meant to dodge, but everybody bumps. And you go for a head on, right, with another dodge them coming the opposite way, and they're only there, what, 4 miles an hour or whatever it is. Maybe not even that, maybe 4 miles an hour. I'm not sure how fast it goes. It's not fast anyway, but you know when you're going to have a head on, you're going to feel it. But you'll be laughing at the end of it. You'll just laugh it off, but you're going to feel it. Now that's doing only these speeds, right? So 30 miles an hour, right? 30 miles an hour. And there's a formula for it. The forces are multiplied. I don't know all the formulas. My other mate's good with all that shit. I've always been interested in that, but in rusty as anything. No, I wish they did take it further, I really do. But physics, obviously, science is my favourite subject. But you multiply that by these factors, right? It's no laughing matter. Another way you could put it into perspective is if you're on a push bike and you fall off at, say, 10 mile an hour, it's going to fucking hurt, you know? So that's only at 10 mile an hour. So you're travelling in a vehicle, because remember, there's nothing really much protection. Okay, the bald and crumple zones and all that, but you're on your own really. There's nothing much there. There is a lot of thought and research going into it. You've got airbags and all that, but they can only do so much. They can only do so much. But there's only thin metal, that's it. You're in you feel like you're cut off from the world. You're in a tank. You think that the doors are thick because you've got this big thick bit here. There's nothing in it, no strength in that. It's just thin metal. Thin metal. I remember being taught that at primary school. The police came in and told us all. This was way back, can't mind. 30s. Can't remember what year it was, but I was quite young obviously. And I remember them saying this, that you're just sitting in biscuit, the cars are just made out of a biscuit tin. I remember that, sticks in my mind. Biscuit tin metal. And that's all it is, it's protecting you. But certainly as far as the bangers are concerned, the safety measures are, you've got your trained marshals, you've got rules to stick to as well. You've got to stick to the flag rules and all the rest of it, the traffic lights. It's great fun to watch and it's good fun doing it, and the teams that I see always go back for more. But the thing about the impacts, it's difficult to remember them. You can't remember what actually happens, and it happens so fast. You don't really remember it. Your subconscious will, but after mine, I had flashbacks where I kept remembering, kept thinking I was going to get rammed at the back. Because it was just still subconscious doing that. But with the videos I put up, I try and add that sense of surreal reality into it. You know, where I drown out all the background noise and add that eerie like music, because it's kind of like an eerie thing. I try and slow the footage down to slow motion sometimes, and then I blend everything in as mix. And I add, in case you're wondering, I've still not seen any messages at all. But oh god, I'm way back. Bloody hell. Oh jeez, I'll catch up. Hang on. The things with. Alright, I used to go and see the motorbikes at racing at Knockhall when I was youngster. See the old GPS one. Yeah. Oh, good. Hello. Hi Shane. Oh, Braveheart. What are you doing? Yeah. Good to see you then. Or good to see your name. Good to see you. Can't see you, but you know what I mean. Some folk think they're doing banger racing on roads. Oh yeah. God, some people on the roads, it's just nuts, like, you know what I mean. I've seen, jeez, I mean, yeah, I could understand exactly. Some people seem to think that they're doing banger racing. I mean, it's horrendous. Yeah. That's good, mate. You've been supporting a wee team in the city. It's got this bloody arrow in there. I can't really see what that says. I'll wait till that arrow goes off. Yeah. I'll go off a bit, so it's just that there's an arrow right there blocking the word. But yeah, the other thing I add to my video, the banger race videos, is the radioactive symbol, you know. I do that. I mean, I've toured all the I've toured all the EDF energy nuclear power plants. I've been fascinated in them. My mate worked in one of them. I've been inside the viewing area and saw the reactors. Not the reactor, but the tops of the reactors. Like, I've been in the plant. There's a shitload of security you've got to go through. Like, and you've got to give them like a week, 2 weeks notice to go through all the checks, security checks. And obviously, I wished, as much as I'd like to be able to film and show you, there's no danger you'd be able to film anything in there. You've got to leave phone and everything behind in the locker. They search you as well, by the way. So I've been to all 8 of them, but I've been to other facilities. I've been to Sellafield a couple of times. I've been outside Dunway a few times. I like them. I read up on them. I've watched stuff about them. I learned about it at school, physics, nuclear. So I've been in my mind. I've always been interested in it. My mate, he done a wee bit of work with them at one time. So the nuclear thing, because the effects regarding the videos, you might wonder why, and putting that on my banger race videos, that the nuclear the radioactivity, the radiation, the mutation that it causes is what I try and add to the shapes and all the forces that have caused the reshaping and modelling of the cars that are been in the smashing, and all the energy releasing, because energy will release is heat, friction and that. That's where you get the sparks when the metals collide. Like the collision of, Jesus, I can't really see it because the window's all steamed up, but I heard that truck on that car. Must have been a close one, but my windows are steamed up. But the release of neutrons smashing into atoms, this is getting ridiculous, isn't it? The collisions, all the collisions going on, but like that, you know, in the back of the race circuit. But energy released again, and it comes off as all these nuclear isotopes and radioactivity, causes mutation. And another thing, like the old saying, being knocked into the middle next week, you know, you go into days, the world's all, it's all weird and it goes all eerie and that, again. Add all that into the mix as well, just to give it a bit of effect, and I put that eerie music on. All the music I made, by the way, except for the ones that are on the, there's a load of music that I didn't make, but I've got obviously permission to use. But there's a lot of music that I know that I made, but I don't make music. I know I'm not a musician, but there's apps where you could mess about making your own music, like amateur stuff. Well, I done that for quite a lot of my videos, and the music that I put on my bangers, that eerie music, it's not like any music you would get anywhere else as such, like for music that you normally hear on the videos, and more of a song. Well, I made that myself. I adjusted it, I put it through other apps to adjust it to cause it echoing and all the effects on it. Oh no, I could read it. That's a way. I could read it now. That's good, mate. You've been supporting the Wii team in this way. God, here we go. A lot of car fatalities are caused by the internal energy heart. Yeah, that's right. The internals, because you've got all the impacts going on. Because anything inside, everything is travelling at the speed of the car, including all your body organs. So anything that's unrestrained will just go flying. There's nothing to stop it. If it's unrestrained, it's going to continue going in the direction of the car. Even though the car's stopped, everything else is going to move until it hits a stop, including your organs. Tear retinas out, or whatever. You can do all sorts of damage. Seat belts, the 3-point seat belt isn't enough, by the way, for the bagger racing. Although when I done it unofficially, well, I won't go disclose too much on that. Yeah, I won't. But I shouldn't have done that, obviously, for obvious reasons. But I'm not daft. I'm not stupid. You know, I wouldn't do anything that I wouldn't be comfortable or happy about. No way would I ever do that. So even though I knew exactly what I was doing, I've always tried to be safe, like keep myself alive. So I wouldn't do anything stupid. But no, there was nothing. There was nothing. But the seat belts, as I say, they wouldn't be ample because you tear your collarbones and all that. There's got to be 6-point harness for banger racing, any stock car circuit racing. The Motor Youngs, wasn't Dundee. Yeah, see, Dundee's got that as well, but not just in Dundee, it's everywhere. Well, everywhere I've been, which is I've travelled. I've seen it in England, I've seen it all over. It's not just in Dundee, like, yeah. Dundee's got its fair share, so we say, but I've seen it. God, I'm sitting at a car park down in Barrow and Furness, and the car park that I selected to sit at to have a meal and make a video. The boy racers there, jeez, and this was in a retail park, and they were just nuts. It was scary actually, because I thought that they could cross that curb and come right over and hit my car. Like, oh, and there's phones. And their phones seem to, yeah. Yeah, there are phones as well, yeah. The distractions, the thing is, the amount of distractions, you don't, some people just don't realise it, but even just taking your eye off the road for a split second, a lot can happen in that time. A lot can happen, and when you're on the phone, you never drive your phone on like that. You wouldn't do that, it's illegal. But you're not in full control because you've got one hand up there. You're listening to what's going on here. So half your brain's listening at the call. You're only putting half your attention. Your eyes are looking, but it's maybe not registered because you're thinking of what's going on in your ear. And the phone is distracting because the people on the other end of the phone don't know the situation exactly what you're in. So if something pulls out, they don't know that that's happened. So they'll just might shout a bit louder and say, oh, by the way, this might happen, and distract you even more because they don't know what's happening at the time. If somebody's sitting in the car and they see something about to happen, they'll pause and they'll be, shit, they won't distract you because they'll be there with you. But if they're on the phone, they don't know what's happening. So they might even talk louder and distract you even more. But to distract you, more, take your attention off the road. And you're doing that at the same time as having the phone. I don't like it anyway. I've never liked it. The idea, I don't do it. I've never done that. I've never driven. Even before it was made, they brought the laws in tougher. I've never driven. I just think it's stupid. I wouldn't do it. I don't like being distracted when driving anyway. But yeah, and you've got one hand off as well. So if you get a blow or you hit a puddle, especially at night and you don't see them, the car goes like that, and you've got one hand up there, and I've seen it as well. Loads and loads of times I've seen it. In fact, it's like every day. I saw it today. Somebody driving, and it's people that have got businesses like driving about in vans, their business, and they're doing it blatantly with the window open, right down, for all to see. And driving the buses, I see it all the time. If I were a cop, God, if I got £1 for every time I saw it, I'd be rich, and that's no exaggerating. And that's despite all the warnings what could happen if you get caught. And they're doing it with the windows wide open and nothing. And anybody could see them doing it. In fact, one time, somebody nearly swerved a little bit because they were on the phone. They went like that, and they were still on the phone. They're like, fucking hell. They nearly crashed the bloody thing. And they're on the phone, and they still stayed on the phone. Crazy. But police have got to see them, and yeah. It's just, when I'm driving, I hate being distracted. But it's different if you've got a hands-free set, because there's hands-free, your hands are free. You've not got the phone to your ear. But with your hands-free, you still got to be cautious, obviously. And if you're being distracted, you just got to ignore when you're driving, you just got to put that out of your mind and just watch what's happening. If something's happening up ahead, you just got to ignore the call. But it's not as distracting because you've got both hands on the wheel. But the science and all the politics behind it, they stipulate that you can't do that. But the thing that gets me is, there's the law's bizarre in some things. They build so much into cars, particularly the shit that they put up in front of your windscreen. I'd hate the thought of having that on-screen windscreen gimmicky shit. I wouldn't want that in my car. I'd find that distracting, yet it's legal. There's lots of, I'm not going to go about it, but there's loads and loads and loads of things that I think is just ridiculous, and yet it's legal. And things that are illegal that's pointless, like for example, they go over the top with certain things. I'm not going to go through them all, but they go over the top with certain things and they didn't even give a second look at the other things that really needed attention. I find that really odd, but you know me, I always think more than that there's more going on anyway, that's going off. But, when is the Ulysses? Fuck that Ulysses. Oh no, don't get me started with that Ulysses. That Ulysses thing, I hope it never comes. I don't know. No, I don't know what's happening yet. To be honest with you, I'm not even interested. It'll happen anyway. It'll go whatever. I hope that Ulysses thing doesn't come to Dundee, but I will. It's just like they want to take away people's freedoms, as far as I'm concerned. I just don't see the point in it. It's just stupid. I hate the idea. I hate Ulysses, but I hope it never comes to Dundee. I hope it never ever comes, but I just hope they abolish it altogether. But the danger is they'll abolish that and bring something worse probably. All this all the protests and stuff. Now, I'm not going to name things, but there's protests and things going on, and I often wonder, I say to myself, what they're protesting against, right? If it was to suddenly stop, how would they get on then? How, if, for example, the things would depend on, like, well, oil. We need oil to get, well, let's put it this way, we've allowed ourselves to become dependent on oil, let's put it like that, right? So if we stop suddenly, right, then how do we get by? You know, it doesn't even, it's irrational. And even if you stop, and I'll put it like this, if you're going on the road, right, to stop traffic for a cause, to put a political cause over, during stopped traffic, right, it's not only is it inconveniencing, it's going to cause pollution, a build-up of pollution, because traffic and movement is more inefficient, because you get 0 miles per gallon. So it's actually increasing the miles per gallon, and they don't know who's in that traffic and what's the consequences of stopping that traffic. It's absolute madness to go on the main road and block traffic to put a political cause over. A political cause, I believe, is just does not warrant that. In my opinion, I think it's just bonkers, but it infuriates people. It causes infuriation, and stopping traffic for a political cause is just making more of a problem. Sitting traffic that's stopped will use 0 miles per gallon, which is about as inefficient as you could get with an internal combustion oil engine, an engine that burns oil, uses oil, an internal combustion engine. And then all the things, transport, if it all stopped, how do they get to where they're going, and what's the power that powers their homes? And all the clothes that's worn is made from oil, all the dependent stuff. But I'm not going down the political road, that's why I'm specifically omitting any naming, because as soon as you name something, that opens up a political debate, and not into that. And just pointing out the principle. The principles, that's the principle I'm pointing out. I just don't understand the principle about stopping traffic on people getting about their business to put a political cause over. It's dangerous anyway. Not only for themselves, but it causes to obstruct the traffic. It's just nuts for the sake. It's madness, but yeah, don't mind me. Summer's over and I hate the thought of that. But then I suppose if you look on it that way, as soon as the 21st of December, then it starts getting lighty again. However, there's a thing on that, but you'll understand, because I've seen you're there next to articles regarding the Mandela effect. I'm sure when I mention the Mandela effect, I'm sure you'll know what I mean. But I know for a fact that I remember that the clocks went forward. You lost an hour. No, let's get this right now. No, the clocks went back in October. It was the second Saturday in October. And so you gained an hour, because they went back. Am I right? And the other one was the second Saturday in March, for the clocks to go forward. So you lose an hour. So the clocks go forward, it gets lighter at nights, yeah? And when the clocks go back, it gets darker earlier. Now I remember that it was always, because I remembered it right up until a point that, I lost signal. So I don't know what happened there. It might be the battery it's playing up. I don't know what the picture's like at your end, but I just got my charger on. Until I finish what I'm going to say, I won't stay on too long, but if it's the battery it's starting to go, because it shouldn't have done what it did there. I was just getting on to explain something on that, with the charger on. So that should eliminate any battery problems. I don't know how the signal went off. Oh, it was down at 18, I don't know, might have weakened it. But yeah, no, the strange thing is, I was saying before I got rudely interrupted with a break in the signal there, or it just went off. That annoys me, that. I was always 6 months apart. It was 6 months apart for me. I know that it mathematically doesn't make sense. That's why it's so bizarre. But it was always 6 months apart. It was the second Saturday in October for the clocks to go. It would be back an hour, so it gets dark earlier. And then it would be the second Saturday in March. The clocks went forward an hour. You lost an hour, but it got light year. It stayed light year later, an hour later. And it was 6 months apart. And it's really bizarre because it doesn't mathematically work. And I remember it I always remembered it. It was so long. No one's just confused. I really am. I just have no idea. I just don't know now. Since, I think, 2 or 3 years ago, when I noticed the Mandela effect changing that. But if I do know what I mean when I say Mandela effect, because you've watched this channel, you've watched my channel. That's all I'm not disclosing anything else, but I know that I've seen your name on my channel when I've mentioned the Mandela effect. You know what I mean, because I've interacted with you regarding the Mandela effect, and I've saw it. That's what I will say. I won't disclose names and stuff on here, but then you'll know what I mean. You'll know what I mean because you know about the Mandela effect. But it's mathematically impossible because October, right? So November. So clocks go back in October. So it's November, December, January, February, and March. So that's only 5 months of the winter and 7 months of the summer. So you've got March when they go, and now you get it's forward an hour, so that's March. That's April, because remember you're starting in March. So April, 1 month's gone by. May, 2 months has gone by. June, 3 months. July, August, September, October. 7 months. So it's 5 for the winter and 7 for the summer. I was never, ever unbalanced like that for me. Never. I do not ever remember it being that way. It's bizarre how it would be like that way. The summer solstice and winter solstice is 6 months apart. So June the 21st is the summer solstice. So you got June, so July the 21st, 1 month's gone by. August, September, October, November, December. 6 months apart. And then for the winter solstice, when it starts to get lighter, it's just January, February, March, April, May, June. 6 months. And the clocks going back and forward an hour, it was 6 months apart as well. And it was the second Saturday of October and the second Saturday of March. I remember it. And it was 6 months apart. But the bizarre and odd thing is it doesn't make sense. And I know it sounds absolutely bonkers, but with the exception of because I know that you've listened to my channel before. I can't say what other channels you've watched because I can't say it on here. So I can't say it, but you've watched my channel, I've seen your name, so you know what I mean. But for anybody, and probably everybody else in here knows what I mean. I know. They probably will. I don't know who's watching, but I've got to remember that this has been recording as well. So it's going to be watched after and finished. So for those that are watching this, I think it's nuts and bonkers. That don't understand the Mandela effect, that's fair enough. It's a hard concept to understand unless you've actually experienced it. However, what I've always got to say, anytime I mention the Mandela effect, you do your own research and come to your own conclusion regarding the Mandela effect. I say it every time. So what I'm trying to say is I'm not telling you what it is or what's happening. I don't know, because I don't know what it is. What I do know is what it's referred to online. It resembles something that's referred to online as the Mandela effect. That I can say, because I've come across stuff online that I could relate to, and the phenomena that I've experienced resembles what's referred to online as the Mandela effect. Now, I'm not trying to say that to anybody that the Mandela effect's real, or that you should believe it. What I'm saying is my experience, what I've experienced about it, and you make your own mind up about it. Because I know for a fact what I've experienced, and I could tell you what I know. And I know that the things I remember were once that way and no longer now. In fact, it's physically, well, mathematically impossible. But it's I could tell you my experience, that 100% I know what I've experienced, and what I've experienced resembles what's referred to online as the Mandela effect. And if you go online and research into the Mandela effect, there's lots of information online regarding the Mandela effect. You make your own mind up on it if you believe. You could relate to things, we all do, and relate to that. Time's moving so fast. Yeah, time's warped. Time's sped up to the point, I think, to a factor of 2. I used to think 1.5, but I'd say as much as 2. Now, not just because I'm getting older, that a year proportion is less, as I get older, a year. I took that in consideration. Time has actually sped up, because there's certain things that I'm not going to disclose too much, it's just too long, but they don't fit anymore. No, it's just trying to fit. It's like trying to fit a blooming double-decker bus into a lockup that's made and designed for a car. It won't fit anymore. The things I could have done no bother before, right? I can't do them now. And it's depressing because it changes my life and it's hard to get used to that. But I'm having to, like, through no choice, I've got like everything else, I've just have to make do with what there is. And this is just something else I've got to make do with. I don't have a say in the matter to my knowledge, so I've just got to make do with what there is. Time sped up to a factor of 2 and I've just got to live and get by the way that is. I can't get anything like as much done. And it's not because I'm getting slower. And actually, if anything, I'm getting faster because I'm trying harder to get the same amount of stuff done in the same so-called given time. But a unit of time, but the actual the time rate is sped up by a factor of 2. I would say 2, but that's not exaggerated. I would actually say that it is sped up by 2. And I would say that started since around about 20, it's definitely sped up. I remember a story in 2019 when I was at the Dalwhinnie Hotel. I won't go on about this on here, it's just too long, but I'd say since then it's certainly accelerated up. It seems to be a blur in my memory from 2011 onwards. Seems to be things a bit hazy. I remember some specific things like when I bought the cars and that, but even there's events and that. The odd thing is, before that, I could remember things, specific things back in the 80s and 90s and everything. Quite clearly, I can remember dates and feelings in 2000 before that. But from 2011 on, it seems to be, it's just weird. It's like a warp. It's like something, it's just hazy. Things I should remember, like off the top of my head, it's more difficult and more confusing. Something's happened, I'd say, as far back as regarding time anyway, 2010 onwards, 2011, 2012. But from 2019, I was just like the pivotal point because I was in my hotel room and I was listening to the second hand on the clock that I brought up, and it was just ticking way too fast. It was used to be that you could say 1 elephant, 2 elephant in the second. You couldn't even do 1 elephant, it was going that quick. And it wasn't because I was dreaming either, because I still hear it even before. How do you explain this, what you mean when you say time goes quicker as you get older? Oh yeah, when time goes quicker, well, yeah, okay, well, time doesn't get when you get older. No, I don't mean that time actually speed. So kind of, no, I've got to word this right. I'm not coming. I disregard that. Oh God, no. I know what you're asking though. No, the time doesn't speed up when you get older. No, that's not what I mean. No, what I mean is that time sped up regardless of whether you get older or not. That's probably a better way of putting it. When I was talking about the percentages of your age, when you're well, I'm 48, so 1 year's a 48th of my life. But if I was 8, then 1 year would be an 8th of my life. So that's 12.5%, yeah? So the percentage rate is proportionally smaller, but the time rate's meant to be the same when you get older. But what I mean is that regardless of how old I am, the actual rate at which time is sped up by is by a factor of 2. So what I was able to do in an hour, right? I could only do about half of that now. It feels like half an hour. And working harder, faster, to try and get the same amount of stuff done. A day doesn't feel like a day's gone by. It feels like only half a day. I go to bed and I'm tired sometimes. A year only feels like about 6 months. The last 4 years has only felt like about 2 years. That's how I used to feel like 2 years. Back in the earlier days, I know that the percentage rate was bigger and a year felt longer, but the year, even after 2010, 2011, gradually started to feel less like a year, to the point of ridiculousness, where I can't actually do as much in a year. I mean, to give an example, I had built a load of Lego models. I built, and they were going to have an event to run currently with the actual real bus bagger racing down in Buxton Raceway, and I was going to do my own Lego one. And I bought these models and never even got around to it. I was going to get around to it that year, and never even got around to it till this year, because that's unlike me, because I would have had that done sooner than that. I didn't even feel like a year went by. It's just ridiculous, and I could feel it actually struggling as well, because I can't even get as much done as I can that I used to be able to. I'm way behind on certain things. Like, for example, this live stream, I was only going to do an hour, right? I've been on it exactly 90 minutes, an hour and a half, and it's only felt like about 45 minutes. I'm not kidding. I can't believe an hour and a half's gone by. I just can't. It doesn't feel right. It feels like 45 minutes has gone by. Okay, maybe not precisely 45 minutes, you know what I mean? It feels like half that time has gone by. It just feels so much quicker. And that's what I really mean, though. I'm not bullshit, and I genuinely believe that it's sped up. I don't bullshit anyway. I don't lie. I'm not there to lie or mislead anybody. I just tell them experience how they are, and I believe it really has sped up. In fact, I feel. It's not a case that I believe. I feel it's sped up. It's like trying to say, well, I believe in sitting and I believe in holding the steering wheel. Well, I don't believe in holding the steering wheel. I feel in holding the steering wheel. Well, it's not like a case that I believe it's time sped up. It's a case that I feel time sped up. I can feel that it's sped up. And it's not just because of the age percentage. It's like a year is a 48th. So if you get older, and if say someone just say for argument's sake somebody's 100-year-old, 1 year is only 1%, but it's still a year supposedly. It's still a year mathematically. But if you're say 10-year-old, or let's say you're 1-year-old, right? If you're 1-year-old, a year is your whole life. So the percentage is I don't know, less significant is not the best choice of words, but the percentage is a smaller percentage of your life. Like 1 year is a smaller percentage of your life if you're 100 than what it is if you're 1-year-old. So I take that into consideration. I know that a year is a smaller percentage of my overall age. I know that a year is a 48th percentage of my age. I know that. I take that into consideration. But having taken that into consideration, I still feel at the time it's gone faster at a rate of twice. So a day only feels like half a day. A week only feels like a few days. A month only like a couple of weeks, a fortnight. A year only feels like 6 months. And it's in a day and a week, a couple of days off my work. It's gone, and it feels like I only got half of my stuff done in a day. Spend the whole day resting when I can't get anything done. And it just 6 days off only feels like 3 days off. A week off only feels like a few days, 4 days off. And I can't get as much done in a day. And it's not because I'm slowing down, and it's not because I'm doing it any less efficient and working harder to try and get as much done as I used to be able to do before. Can't even do that now. And I'm busting you know what I mean? I'm busting my blooming balls to get this done, to try and get as much done in the same given time as I used to be able to do without any problem. I was just not sail through it, because I never sailed through it. I was always having to, I was in me ever. But I was able to do it. I was able to get the stuff done. I was able to get the chores done at it. I was able to visit places that needed done. I was able to go to like the gym and stuff after it. I was able to do this after it. I was able to do that after it. And then I was able to do other things later, then go to my bed, feel as though I've done a lot. Now, I can't even do half of that. Can't even get motivated. Because before I even got a chance to get motivated, it's too late. And it happens too often. And way too often, it's just to the point where it's sped up. I'm putting more effort into getting things done. I know there's a theory online. Again, you know what I mean when I've heard stuff online. But there was a mention of it, I don't know, as I say, it's just theories online about the Earth's human residence. Might have something to do with the acceleration of time, but there is something online that's referring to it. You can look it up, but again, it's only stuff that's online. You know my feelings are with things online. Even including this, it's artificial. It's what you make of it. It's what you make of it. It's only light and sound you get from artificial sources. Yeah, it does. It's noticed even my hair weird. It was quicker now. Yeah, the growth rate on hair, nails, stuff like that. I've never measured the growth rate on that. That's a good point, but yeah, I must do. But I've never really thought about it. It would just be natural, like when it comes to dinner time, I'll have my lunch. When it comes to tea time, I'll have my tea. When it comes to get my hair cut, I'll get my hair cut. Cut my nails. when it's time, and it just happens obviously at the same rate, the accelerated rate at the speed of the rate that time sped up by. Like I got my bed, and what only feels like half a day has gone by. Half the day, or what used to be considered a day. If you consider a day, like, let's just say for example, you get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and you go to bed at midnight, so then you would consider the day as like from 8 till midnight. Well, it's, you know, a day is 24 hours, but in 16 hours that you're up is, you would say, well, you've been up all day, like 16 hours. Well, that 16 hours would only feel like 8 hours now. So now you can only do what 8 hours worth of stuff now, but 16 hours goes by. But I can only do 8. That's just an example. I get less sleep than that. But in the day, from the minute I get out of my bed to the minute I go back in my bed, what used to feel like a full day and I could get the stuff done that I used to be able to do in that day, I can only get about half done now. And I'm going faster to try and catch up to get that done. And before I know it, it's too late. And it's not me it's doing anything unique or inefficient, because it's the same stuff that I've done before. I can't even do it now. Like you say about the clocks going forward, it doesn't mathematically make any sense neither. That it used to be 6 months apart for the clocks going back. You used to go back between the hour and going forward an hour and going back, and it was 6 months apart. It was always the second Saturday of March and the second Saturday of October. But it doesn't mathematically work at 6 months. It's now 5 and 7. It's offset. I mean, it was never offset. It was always. There was another accident near enough. Well, not accident, the horns, a lot of them going off these days. It was always 6 months apart. Just like the summer solstice, it was always 6 months apart. And so were the clocks, the hours. And I remember it for that. I remember it being the second Saturday every October and second Saturday every March. But it can't mathematically work. But that's what's really odd about it. You know, and it would seem bonkers to anybody that doesn't understand the Mandela effect, but I don't understand how that happens, but it does. It's just mathematically, it was always 6 months apart before it changed. Now it's mathematically impossible. But that's my experience, and I know that it can't mathematically work that way, but it was definitely 6 months apart. It was in sync with the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, and the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, was 6 months apart. They still are 6 months apart, but so were the clocks going forward and back. They were 6 months apart, but they were all phased by 3 months, because it was three. Was it June, July, August, September, October? It'll be 4 months. So see, it doesn't mathematically work now. And then of course for the March was April, May, June, so it's 4 months and 3 months. So it's just really odd. Like, I honestly came on here saying I'm going to be an hour, no more. An hour and 38 minutes has gone by. I still feel as though I haven't really mentioned as much on the buses yet. So yeah, it just goes to prove, because I was going to talk about the buses and I was going to talk about the banger racing. I've only mentioned more about the banger racing. So that's only like half of what. But anyway, yeah, that's a prime example right there and then. Because if you look at the thumbnail, I was going to talk about the buses and the banger racing as well. The buses and the banger racing. There is buses that do banger racing, but yesterday I was on an old bus. It was an old Volvo Elsa. Dundee used to have a fleet. Well, Dundee's bus fleet was made up of Volvo Elsas at one time, just about all of them. But the bus I was on wasn't new to Dundee. It was never in service in Dundee because there's hardly any left. But there are some still going about, like. But that particular one was, it was new to Derby Transport. Well, it wasn't Dundee anyway, but it's under preservation. And I had a shot at driving it. It was brilliant. If you look back on my channel to the Volvo Elsa articles that I made, well, that makes us depressed. So much sun. Yeah, the sun definitely makes me feel better. The original sun, that is. The real, the old sun. Now that, for anybody that doesn't know, when I say the old sun, I know that'll sound nuts to you, but the sun, whether or not, is definitely bizarre. It's changed. The sunlight levels has changed. I'm sure I remember a black. Oh, I remember Black Prince bus on Dundee Fleet. Dundee, Black Prince. Well, that Black Prince bus was the bus I was on yesterday. It was new to Derby Transport. It was the only low-height Ailsa ever built anywhere. And it's under preservation. And it's a Mark 1 Volvo Ailsa. Dundee, I don't remember that. But then, of course, you with the Mandela effect, you know, there's always that. Black Prince in Dundee. But a lot of the Dundee buses went to Black Prince. I think Black Prince is a Black Prince of Morley. I've never been to that company yet. It's way down south. But some of our old buses went down there. They bought them and used them in service for schools and contracts and that down there. But the Black Prince bus, the livery of that bus has been put into the Black Prince of Morley livery, and it's tiny, like it's well done. Oh, back in the 80s, Black Prince. I sure remember a Black Prince bus. Ah, that's interesting. I don't remember. Well, that's interesting. I might have to look into that. So what colour was the bus? Was it red, yellow and red then? I was just told. I'll just give you an idea. Is that how you remember it then? Because, or was it some? I don't remember Black Prince bus at all in Dundee. Like, I've never heard of that. But interesting, very interesting. I'd have to look into that. I don't know if you know. Was it a Volvo Ailsa or even still? Because remember Dundee, Strathday, Fife Scottish also run in Dundee. They didn't run primarily in Dundee, but they ran through into Dundee to get to the bus station. But Strathday mainly concentrated on the rural routes. And Fife Scottish, well, as the name implies, it was serving Fife, Scotland. But they came into Dundee to get to the bus station. And Strathday used to obviously they ran buses around the outskirts of Dundee, but they did run the 7 and 8. Tayside run them in the afternoon and Strathday ran them in the evening. Same with 36 and 37 circulars. They did that for a bit. And then sometimes they didn't. Sometimes Tayside run them all the time, and then other times Strathday would run them all the time. It was a funny route, the 7, 8, and 13 and 14, and the 36 and 37. It was like a part-time route. Mixed, but it was quite odd as well, because just recently we're doing the 57As, which is part of the Strathday 57 Perth to Dundee route, which is a rural route. And we got the contracts in that for a while, and I was driving the buses out to Perth. That's quite odd, like, but Tayside, I don't remember Black Prince being in Tayside at all. But it's very interesting that you remember that, because my mate remembers the bus, and chats have gone off. Oh, come on, went off. There we go. Sure there was, and then they would have bus from a different city. Oh, yeah, maybe it could have been a demonstrator bus then. Might have been a demonstrator, because the Tayside ran demonstrator buses, the Metro bus, Dennis Dominators, they were double deckers, but the liveries, there was one red bus as well. It was a Leyland Titan. It had a sort of TV back window, square TV like window. Because you got the old Leyland Titan with the engine at the front, like the back loader, but this was a later square bodied Leyland Titan, modern looking, but had the TV like back window. That was kind of red colour. I don't know if it was Black Prince or I've only seen pictures of it. I don't actually remember it clearly, if at all, but I'll have to look into that one, because that's bugging me now. It's interesting that you remember that. No, the Tayside's bus fleet was built up of Ailsas, Volvo Ailsas, from Mark 1 to Mark 1.5 to Mark 2 and then Mark 3. First Ailsas were in the early 70s to Dundee. I say that specifically because I don't want to spark controversy, because ever since I was a kid, there's a fleet of buses I remember being much older than what any record will say. Now, this is before they heard of the Mandela effect phenomenon. It's going to be back when I was 12, back in 1987. These buses came back. They sounded different to anything, they sounded different to what I remember them sound like. I put a piece of puzzle together, and I'm sure they were Mark 1s, but I don't want to make it, I don't want to like broadcast that on here as such, because in directly conflicting written proof and all the people have told me, I don't want to make the video controversial about it, but I remember them sounding different. But aside that, the early Ulces was the mid 70s. Then the Mark IIs came out to the late 70s, early 80s, late 70s rather. Early 80s, because it was March 80, June 80. And the Mark IIIs, now I'll admit the batch shit I was referring to, but the size there was 51 to 60, Northern Counties bodywork Mark III Volvo Ulces, and there was East Lancs bodywork Mark III Volvo Ulces, and they came in 1983. If you look at my videos way back, it's called Volvo Ulcer article, I go into a great in depth, show pictures and footage and everything that I've taken. I'm 54, pod, and I like buses as well, growing up, so I remember quite far back. Yeah. Brayford, do you remember any buses on the Whitfield services that had dark brown seats in the 70s though, but it's got to be in the 70s. Do you remember any buses that had dark brown seats in Dundee? This is a question that I've asked many people, not online, but because I feel like I can just totally open up another thing altogether if I did that. I better not go too much into that. The video will be too long. But yeah, dark brown seats. You remember them? So how far back could you remember them? I won't give you any ideas, I won't put any ideas into your head, but how far back could you remember these dark brown seats? And could you tell me a feature on them, other than dark brown seats, any specific feature on that? Tell me a feature of it, or a distinctive feature of that bus, and how far back you remember them. I feel like I'm directly speaking to them. God, this is totally up my zone, totally off the zone of this video, and I'm really focused on this, fixated on this bus thing though, because it's I've probably mentioned before on things regarding that, but it's like doing a phone call. It's like doing a phone call, actually, only the world's audience. They were leather, late 70s and early 80s, there weren't many of them. Late 70s. Interesting, late 70s, well that's good. Was it definitely in the 70s though? Could you 100% be certain that it was in the 70s? I'll wait till you comment. And then some while I'm waiting, because everybody else is waiting, I'll not keep it all waiting. Well, I'll wait on you. But Dundee's buses were made up of Ulces. They did have other buses as well during the 70s. They had Fleetliners, Daimler Fleetliners. They had a short-term Bristol VRTs with Alexander bodywork. The early 80s, I would say, but they were on the Whitfield. Yeah, early 80s. That's good to know. That's an interesting answer. That's what everybody remembers them being like. I'll just tell you anyway. Well, because you know about the buses. Well, basically, those buses that you remember with the dark brown seats were the ones that got me in the buses. And the reason, one of the main reasons is because I remember those buses on the Whitfield whilst I was staying at Cheviot Crescent. Now, I only stayed in Cheviot since I was born. I was 5, but when I was nearer 5, I could remember the buses because I moved over to Menis Hall, where I still stay, and they were on the Whitfield route, even from Menis Hall to Whitfield to Menis Hall anyway. But when I was at Cheviot, I remember them because my dad, he was working, he took the car, so my mum used to take us on the bus. She knew people in Whitfield, we used to go to Whitfield as well. And I remember the brown seats on the routes, the bus routes. I remember the shape of the windows, the squareness. The bus is a very square profile looking bus. The top front window especially. There's features on that bus that stick in my mind, in my memory. And I remember the sound of them as well when I grew older, because I moved to Minas Hill. The 17 route runs from Whitfield all the way to Nine Wales, and I stayed on when I moved to Minas Hill, I stayed on the other end of the 17 route. And then, because my dad, his car wasn't reliable, it broke down a lot. You know, he was fixing it, he had to sometimes do the repair, and others we used the bus. And then sometimes if my dad was working out, my granny would take us on the bus. I would go on, when I was a bit older, I used to go on the bus with my mates. I was always interested in big vehicles, other vehicles when I was a kid. I looked at buses as I went past. I remember the sounds, I remember the exhaust sounds, I remember the engine notes, the back axle noise, the prop shaft. I was always wondering about the prop shaft underneath lorries. It used to be, I think because it was drop centre reduction axle, the prop shaft was down at a slight angle, and then as the bus was on a higher bit of the ground, I was able to see slightly under it, see it turning. And I remember these features, but certainly the sound. And that overlapped to the time that they say they came new in 81, but they had the Mark III engine, yet I believe it being a Mark I engine, a deep sounding exhaust note. That's why I'm fascinated in exhaust notes, the deep sounding ones. I always remember that. I remember it pulling out of Charleston Drive bus stops. All these sounds could only relate to having that type of engine in it from the 70s. And I remember it being there on that route on the 70s, because I lived in Cheviot and it was whilst I was there. And yet they were only supposed to have came new in 1981. And it would make it then deem impossible. And even the specifications, manufacturers, the lot, everybody, including memories that remember them being in 81. However, there was one time in the 90s I came across an old inspector that remembered didn't put preconceived ideas in his head, but I was talking about the buses and I gave him a bit of paper and I says, could you draw down some of the features? And he remembered the features that coincide with that batch of buses, and that was from 1973, 1974. Amazing. Yeah, I haven't seen them since, well, I saw them maybe once at Asda, went on the cold meat counter, but that was in 95, I think. Yeah, I haven't seen him since then, but he was probably quite old, getting on a bit back then, and that was, what, 28 years ago, so I hope he's still alive, but he was getting on a bit then. He was probably in his 50s, I think. Early 60s maybe, so yeah, he'd be getting on a bit now if he was still, hopefully he's still doing alright, right, but could have been the 70s, right? But late 70s I grew up in Whitfield. Yeah, late 70s, well, if you could remember it being for certain in the late 70s, if it was in the 70s, then that's good for me, because it's got to be the 70s, it's got to be before 1981, but I don't want to give you these ideas because it's putting ideas in the head. I don't want a biased idea, if you know what I mean. I want the actual how it is. I've tested people on that as well on certain things, because if you put an idea in their head, then it's easy to relate to that. So I've actually had to sometimes omit things, deliberately omit them, so that they not get an idea and then I ask them, test them, so that I know that they're remembering genuinely what they're remembering, rather than remembering the bias that I've put the idea in the head, because people can think, oh yeah, that's right, and that happens. Not intentionally, but just happens. So I've got to be careful when I'm researching into these things. I've done it for years since I was at the school. I wrote letters off and everything to the manufacturers, all the bus enthusiasts, and that's what officially got me into buses from 1987, from that very day. Ah, I have fond memories of, oh, hi, blame me. I don't know, I'm not good at pronouncing names, I'd probably pronounce it wrong, but you've got fond memories of the Volvo B10 BLEs. I always like the sound. The Volvo B10 BLEs, yes, they were on they had a batch, fleet number 152 to 161, R wedges. They were on the St Mary's route, at that time, 1A, 1B, and then they bought another batch of 15 of them, V wedges, and they were on the 22s, and also some on the Douglas as well. They had 25 B10 BLEs altogether. They had 30 Volvo B10 BLs, B10Ls, with the right Liberated bodywork, which looked very similar. The whole bus looked similar to each other. You couldn't, the untrained eye would probably just dismiss them as both the same. But the B10 BLEs had the gasket windows, the rubber seals, gasket windows. So it had the windows that were separated with the rubber gaskets, whereas the B10Ls had the bonded glass that were right Liberators, and that was flat flush glass all the way along, so it was like one pane of glass. They looked quite smart actually, I quite liked them. God almighty, they're not horns at an accident or not. Circle. They had the big straight, they had the flush flat glass. B10L had the Voith transmission. And the B10 Belays, all the Tayside ones had the, well, not Tayside, it was Travel Dundee, because we were on my National Express since 1997. They had the ZF gearboxes in them. They lasted from the first B10Ls, the first ones we got were B10Ls after they were bought over in 97, January 97 by National Express, and they went on Kirton, Whitfield and Fintry buses, fleet number 122 at 141, P-Regs, 1997 or 96, 97 model. Then they got another batch of 10 B10Ls that were on the ferry buses, fleet number 142 at 151, R-Reg, Volvo B10Ls with the right Liberator body. Then the first then they got they got the 10 Volvo B10 BLEs, 152 at 161, which went on the St Mary's route. Then they bought 3 Volvo B6 BLEs, B6s, midi buses, 163 at 164, and they went on the ferry, the 9X, 8X, 9X. I'd driven them, I was working and they were there when I drove them. Steering was not great and the seating position was uncomfortable and they were slow. I didn't particularly think they were that great. I didn't like them that much. Yeah. Not as comfortable as the big Volvo B10Ls and B10 BLEs. Then they bought a batch of 15 Volvo B10 BLEs for the downfield, the V-Regs, fleet number 161 to 179. And I've got footage later on when they started scrapping them. I've got footage, that's a video I've got up when they were breaking them up. Some of them got sold on and whatnot, but a lot of them went for scrap. I remember being on the open back buses, and they were green and jump. Oh, the backloader buses, yeah. It's funny actually, very funny, because I was at the Dundee Transport Museum just earlier on the day, and I went on one of the backloaders. It could have been the very one you're on. It was 184, fleet number 184. It's a Daimler CVD6, and they've got 80Cs. This is well before my time. But I do remember the backloaders. I've just been very young, very, very faintly, probably in the Fintry or something. But it was the Elses I remember more, because I kind of grew up with them. Because the backloaders were only probably on their last legs when I was 3, 4, 5 year old, if any. I think got some second-hand ones, but I remember them. I think, yeah, the backloaders. Don't remember much of them at all, but the Elses I do remember because I grew all the way up through my years with them. Because they were pretty much the same age as me, the Elses. Officially, the first Elses that came to Dundee officially were the LES 44P to LES 48P, which is fleet number originally 70 to 74. Then the rear fleet number down to 107 to 111, and then they got the NSP batch, NSP 11, NSP 312R to NSP 341R, fleet number 112 to 141. It was 35 Mark 1s. They came in 1976. Officially, that's when Dundee's supposed to have got the very first Elses in 19. I don't like saying that supposed to have any controversy on this on the video, but when I say supposed to, what I'm trying to say is what I remember. I believe that the ones that I remember were older and came in 73, 74, but I'm not trying to say anybody's wrong on here. Like the people I've written off to and asked about, I'm not putting the video out there directly telling the world that you're wrong. No, I'm just saying what I remember. When I say officially, and they're supposed to just admit that, officially, when I say that, that's what the records and everything say that they came new. Because nobody seems to, well, very little remember what I remember. I know what I remember very well. And I know the sounds. I could just picture and visualise the sounds in my head. The buses and the sounds and everything, what I remember. But there's no recollection of it. There's no record of it. They supposedly never existed until 1981, and they never sounded that way. There were Mark III engines in them all the time, apparently. But it was because they had Mark III engines in them, I noticed there was a difference. I didn't know about Mark III specifically at the time. I knew the sounds were different. I know what they are now, what causes all the sounds now, but yeah. Oh, believe you me, I've asked my family members many times. They're probably sick of me asking them how much they remember about the old buses. I mean, yeah, especially through the early days in the 80s, I constantly always asked people about them. And do you remember that? And then when we were talking about things, eventually I'd get to the subject of buses and I'd ask them about it. So I would have done. Still do anyway. Remember the Jubilee bus in 77? Oh, you remember the Jubilee bus in 77 in Yellow Pages? The Jubilee bus, well, That's good that you remember that, because we've got that in our bus club. That's under restoration. Bus 126. It's a Volvo Elsa Mark 1 NSP 326R, and it's under preservation. We've got it in our club. But that bus had an interesting life. It did the Silver Jubilee, then it was a service bus up to about 1986. Then it lay off the road, mothballed along with others, for about 3 years. Then it came back on service again late 89. Done a couple of years service again in new livery with the others that came back. By this point, the ones that remained on service throughout life were sold off at this point. In fact, they kind of replaced their own patch, because they went off the road for 3 years, where the others shouldered on for full life. So the ones that shouldered on for service sold off in 1990. But the three that were off the ones that were off the road, 126 being in amongst them, that were off the road for 3 years, mothballed. They came back and do another 2 year service, as the other ones that were just retiring that had done the full service. Then it did 2 year service, I think, 2 years, 89 to 91. Then it was a berry bus from 1991 to 2001, I think. I went on it just to get on that bus. It was a blue. I've got video pictures. Not videos, I've got pictures of it. It was painted up blue. Mitchell's, Farmer Mitchell, Newtown, you owned that. Bus 126. And then after that, it was bought for preservation, where it's still preserved. And one of I think they're planning on putting it back to that livery, actually. There's loads of pictures of it being Silver Jubilee in 1977. That was on the Dungfield route. But yeah, that was bus 126. The Yellow Pages bus. Oh, can't remember, I'm not sure. Could have been bus 13 or something. I've probably seen pictures of it or something. Probably will be one of the Elks, but I can't remember off the top of my head at this moment. But bright yellow bus was the Yellow Pages bus. Yeah, Yellow Pages. Not sure what one that was at this moment. I remember. Do you remember the Daily Record bus? White Daily Record bus, the Daily Record livery on it. That was one of the. That was in the batch of the 36 to 50 fleet. Oh, jeezy peeps, 2 hours. That's actually only felt like an hour it's gone by the way. That's 2 hours it's gone by, and it's only felt like an hour. It's only felt like an hour, I kid you not. You remember it? Yeah, that was bus 48. HSR 48X, Volvo Elsa. Now, I'm going to just leave it at Volvo Elsa, because if I say Mark 3, then I'm contradicting myself. But if I say Mark 1, I'm contradicting all the records. But I remember it being older, so I'll just say Volvo Elsa and leave it at that. I certainly don't want to tell one here like contradict people, but no, that was part of the batch of buses that got me into buses. I remember being in a fleet that there's no record and supposedly never existed. A lot of people even now think I'm just thinking bonkers when I remember that. I think I must be getting mixed up with other buses, but no, it's not. The buses that they think I've been getting mixed up to, I've looked at them in detail and it's nothing like what I remember. But I'm not saying anybody's lying or anybody's wrong or anything like that. It's just people don't understand that there's more to this life than what meets the eye. And as far back as that, because I remember it. I remember the sounds. The sounds make me think of certain things, especially the deep roars and the deep rumble from the exhaust. Because I was into stuff like that back then when I was a kid. I was fascinated to know how they work. There was a guy that owned an 8-wheeler tipper, big lorry. I used to like seeing that every time it came into Finchley Mains when I was at my granddad's. Granny and granddad's. It was Jack. He was big, articulated. No, not an article. It was an 8-wheeler tipper. And I remember me and my mates used to crawl under it. I know it's bloody dangerous. Like you'd never do that nowadays. Just but. Kids were kids. We were kids and we crawled under it. But I was like scared as well as fascinated. The smells off they got that brake, it's a distinctive brake smell and the oil breather smell. And I know what they are now, but back then I just remember the smells. They still smell up to this day in the big SUVs. It reminds me back to that time. Every time I look under a big vehicle like that, I remember the days I was underneath the big tipper, 8-wheeler tipper. It was parked up. Obviously the driver was in his house. There was no danger of it starting like we wouldn't have that down. And we were quick and quite nimble. I was out there quick. If I thought I was a lot fitter, faster, I'd be the first one out. And I kid you not, I was fast. And I was out there in the shot if need be. Like I wasn't hanging about. I was scared I would be. I was out there quick. But I used to get under there. Even though it was quite big for me, I still managed to get underneath these areas and I was interested in looking up and seeing all the bits under the lorry, and fascinated. And I've always been fascinated in the big trucks. So even then, I thought about the underside of what's under the buses, how they work. So I was looking at buses even before I took an official interest in it. And the songs I remember the notes and the exhaust noises and everything. I don't remember specific fleet numbers or regs, unfortunately. But I do remember things that could only relate to that batch of buses, and supposedly never existed. Very early memories of the Dennis Dart. Travel Dundee bus used to go. Oh yeah, the Dennis Darts. Yeah, the Dennis Darts were midi buses. They weren't really that great, like, in my opinion. I don't think they were that great to drive. I have driven Dennis Darts in service. The later ones, when those ones, I think most of them were out of service. There was maybe a handful when I started in the buses, 2008. But I've driven the Dennis Darts, other variants of it. No, they're not really. No, I don't like them. The Dennis Darts are. It's not as good to drive as the bigger ones. I'll put it like that. Definitely not as good as to give me a choice to drive the bigger bus with the big wheels or the Dennis Dart with the midi bus wheels. Big wheels, anything. The wheel set big size, full size buses. The Volvo B10, the Volvos are good. Like the Volvo B6 was a midi bus that wasn't so good. It had the weird wheels. Uncomfortable, steering lock, power, just didn't handle as good. No, didn't like it for driving. Like, enthusiastic, I like it obviously, and interested in buses, but not as good, nowhere near as good. And the Dennis Dart, I've heard stories about some of them. It's because it's light at the front, it's light. The engine's at the back and it's very light. The one I drove was a particular long one. I put the front wheel, it was braking going down a gradient in the wet, the front wheels locked up. Now that's bloody dangerous, man. Should never happen because it's so light. I didn't like them. I thought they were dangerous actually. They didn't handle very well. Steering locks were crap. Couldn't get wind on. Even the Enviro 200 MMCs we had not that long ago, they're all gone now, transferred away. Did it Falkirk, Bannockburn, what's that other devil? I forgot. It's like, I'll come back. I can't remember. It's down in the west, near the Falkirk area. All the buses they were not new to Dundee anyway. They came up from Birmingham, and it was National Express. We had them for a while, and then they transferred them down when McGill's bought us over. Bartley. Oh God, what's that? I can't remember the other depot, but anyway, Bannockburn was one of them. They transferred them there. Steering locks were terrible. You couldn't get around the circles in them. Well, you get around the circle, but you couldn't get around like some of the terminus, and the steering lock was shite. I didn't enjoy driving them as much. They were slightly shorter than the single. Yeah, the single raters are a bit longer. Boxing, they were slightly shorter than the single. Yeah, they were quite short, these ones. But the Dennis Dart comes in different lengths. The Enviro 200's like the successor of the Dennis Dart. Hasn't really improved much. But the Dart is comes in different lengths. But the first ones we got, 109, 108 and 109 were the shortest variant. They were very short, boxy mini buses. I never drove those, but I was on them as a passenger, like, and I was a bus enthusiast and that. The drivers that I spoke to didn't really like them either. So, but they came in different lengths. So the later ones, 120, 121. I drove them. I think they were still in service, just on the last legs. That's just a comment from someone else, not on the chat here, but on the other another platform. They were longer, but they weren't that good. God almighty, I just had a thought. I wonder if he's on here. If you're watching this, if you're, you'll know who in fairness. I just got to know that couldn't it be? Because it would have been a message. Just when a message came through, I thought, well, if you are, I'll give you a code word. If you are watching it, you'd probably put something up anyway. But if you are, I don't know how many's watching, but I'll say something. Haggis. If you're there, just give us a thumbs up or something, or because I don't know. There's other things on here. Yeah, the Dennis Dart was the good. The other single deckers, they got the big full size single deckers with the Scanias, the K-Edge Scanias, fleet numbered 110 to 113. They were powerful buses, 310 brake horsepower. And then I had 114, which is L3 low. Originally it was 115, but they fleet number it to 114. I've actually got the very rare footage of it when it was fleet number 115 during the August 1993 opening day, which is worth something. Well, it's very rare, because the majority of its life after that was 114. That was on its last legs when I started on the buses in 2008. I was just retired. I got a shot of it, and then about a week or two later I retired. The bus retired from service, so I was lucky enough to actually get to drive it. It's a Scania L3 low. I had Max on the front when it was sitting out on the destination during the opening day when it was being launched. August 1993 opening day. Remember when as the bus was the bus would go around the schemes. Yeah, the as the bus. Yeah, they had an as the bus. No, it's not. I thought it's because you might have heard there's other platform, but there's other things coming up on the screen. I thought he was on here, but yeah, the Asda bus, the green Asda bus, V76 MOA. That was the latest one that was scrapped now. Actually, that bus, I've got a video of the bus being scrapped. Although the guy was very good to send me footage, because I asked him to. If it wasn't for the fact I was at somewhere else, had to be somewhere else, I'd have been there filming it being broken up. If I'd got the permission, I would have done that, but I couldn't be at two places at once. So kindly, the guy had actually filmed a wee bit for me and sent me that footage, and I thank him very much for doing that. And I've included that in my video, because before it got broken up, I was there, I got footage taken of that bus just about to get broken up. And I got the footage kindly sent to me that I asked. So I've incorporated all that into my video. It's called the scrapping of bus 470, scrapping of bus 4076. It's just quite a few videos back on my channel. It was earlier, in fact, it was this time last year, because I had to go to Lathamond. Lathamond Bus Museum, so it was August last year, middle of August, so that was nearly a year ago. Just remember what I was saying about time speeding up? A year. That was a year ago. What did I just say there earlier? I said it was earlier this year. I genuinely felt that it was only about 6 months ago, and it was a year ago, nearly a year ago. And I genuinely thought I felt like only 6 months ago. And I was talking about time speeding up. The prime example right there. I just thought, I was waiting to say it, look back at my video, it was earlier this year. And it just dawned on me, I was going to the Lathamond Bus Museum, and it was when I was camping over, and that was August last year, so it was a year ago. So I mean, time sped up by a factor of 2. I genuinely felt as though it is. I was trying to say it live here on this video, live. I was thinking through my mind. I thought, honestly, I had to think back, because I've done loads of videos since then, so I had to think when it was, and I thought, no, it was earlier this year. It's a year ago. So that's what I mean. That's proof right there, that I'm actually feeling that time sped up by a factor of 2. I can't get another coffee. It's just cold. Well, I was watching on like that. I just thought I would come in here. It was absolutely pissing me rain earlier on. I was going to try and make this kind of fancy thumbnail for this video. I was hoping to get the lights reflecting off the road, the car lights, and there's a big sign, information, advertising sign there, and it looked quite smart the way it was just reflecting. I was trying to blend it all in with the car headlights, but the rain was pissing down, and I was trying to get myself in on the picture as well for the selfie for this, and put some buses and bangers in as well for the subjects I was talking about. But it was raining too hard. The water was getting into I was going to start. I was messing about. I couldn't get the things. It was just blurring out. It was really bucketing down. Like, I just had to call it short. I was trying to get a nice thumbnail for this with that big sign there. It was reflecting off the ground and everything, and the traffic, the lights and everything. It looked appropriate. And you might have noticed there's a ground shot there. I went up there onto the quiet bit of the road, obviously, but there's no traffic, and got the view of the ground with the actual sign for the coffee, Starbucks coffee sign there as well. But then I got another layer of that and cut the layer off, the sound is off, and superimposed it onto the picture. But changed the blend of it so it's just you could see behind it as well. I was trying to get it all right. I was trying to get a smart thumbnail. Spent about 10 minutes with that thumbnail, but I couldn't stay out in the rain too long to get the view. I just had to just cut it short. So that's how it turned out. I tried to get myself in as well, but then I put my own picture on. I was covered by the buses, so the buses are tiny now. I had to make the buses smaller. I couldn't get everything balanced in, so the photo I've got that I took there, I tried to put as far to the right so I could get the three buses. The three buses on that thumbnail, by the way, you might know about that. That's the type of bus that I was talking about. That was taken, by the way, in 1999 when they were just taken out of service. So I believe they were the first Volvo Elses in Dundee, in my theory, but officially it was 1981. But they were actually officially 1999. They were the last Volvo Elses to run in Dundee. And the three buses that are on the thumbnail at the top corner, at the top there, where I took that picture when they were on the back fence waiting to get sold on. They were delicensed. They were withdrawn from service only just a couple of weeks prior. There was 15 of these buses as well. That's why there weren't many. Well, there were certainly 15 after they came back from what I believe after they were converted from Mark 1 engine to Mark 3. But again, that's my theory. I'm not going to spark controversy on here. But I remember them sounding different to what they did, what they said they always did. There was a Volvo Olympian going on about. There's no stuff to that, right? Oh, the Volvo Olympian, yeah. Yeah, they had a SSA8X, the registration I think was on it. That was the old Leyland Olympian registration originally. They carried it forward and put it onto one of their heritage buses. I think it's what model is it? It's another Volvo B5 with the Alexander Enviro bodywork on it. The one I'm thinking, I'll have to check on that one, but yeah, I'm thinking of the one you mean. The Volvo Olympian, the first ones I think they got were the Embrages, 1994. Slafty wasn't I didn't know the fleet of Slafty buses is anything like as well as I did the Tateside buses. Like the Slafty ones I knew about, Pacific, some ones in Pacific, but I wasn't an expert. I wasn't as knowledged as much on the Slafty as I am on the Tateside ones. Because the Tateside buses are the ones that I was writing about. Like, I was getting interested in them, went into the garage and I've got the fleet list. I've still got the fleet list from them that I've written off. I could tell you every registration all the Elses that Tateside had, every one of them. It was dead easy to remember them as well. But I could tell you all the marks and models of them, colour sheets, just off the top of my head. But now, see with the new registrations, I can't do that now. It's random letters, it's totally different. Just cannot get my head around the new number plates. I can only remember the area code, like the SP, and then the year. Year I remember quite easily, 06 or 54 plate. But the other three letters are just random. They're meant to be consecutive, but it's nothing like the old registrations. The old registrations were easy. There's maybe just a letter difference, digit difference. Like for the Mark ones, the fleet numbers are 112 to 141. But on the reg it would be 312 to 341. Although the 112 to 124 I never really knew too well, but they were the same as 125 to 141. Because 107 to 124 were actually off the road. And I took an official interest in 1987. But the 125 to 129 came back after being off the road for 3 years. They would have probably went off into at the same time. It would have been about the time when Scotland's buses were deregulated in 1986. And then 130 for some reason never came back. I never saw 130 when 125 to 129 came back. 129 in particular I remember because I had a really deep bass sounding exhaust, a really deep exhaust, a really loud, powerful sounding exhaust. And I liked that one for that. I remember that very well. That was my favourite of that batch, at the Mark 1 R Edges. 129. Yeah, that got sold. That was the last bus to run in service as a Volvo Elsa Mark 1 officially. And that was on the 5th of August 1991. And it was my mate, good close mate of mine, still mates this day. He was the driver, the last driver on it, and I was the last passenger on it. Because when we got to terms, I was going round on it, as if for round bus runs on it. Bus spotter as I was, still am. And he told me that it's going to be a good run-off because the tax list was out of date. And that was out of date by July 1991, and it was the 5th of August 1991. And he radioed it in, and that was it. He says to me, that'll bus on up, see the road again, that'll be it finished. And it was finished. So I made sure I was the last person off it, stayed on, and he was the last driver. And I remember him ever since from that day. I've been great mates with him since I saw met him. He probably knew me before, like, you know, but I didn't know him as such before. But that was the day that I met him. A good close mate of mine, still is, mate this day. He's still in the buses, and he's been on the buses many years. But he was a 129, that was the bus it happened to be, bus 129. 126, I mentioned earlier, that was a Berry bus at this point, and I suspected that 129 might have ended up that way as well. Just a month or two before, it was actually on the Berry season in 91, that 126. It's the same family as 129, that was sold in 1991 June, and then the July Berry season, it was doing the berries. The 129 was just on its last legs in service in July 91, and then 5th of August 91 it was out of service, and it was actually they ended up selling it to go down south. I went to Glasgow. I think it done schools. Well, no, it didn't. No, tell I. No, went to Carfin in Wales for schools and contracts. And hear that lorry? The exhaust. That's a V8 Scania. That sounded brilliant. But yeah, that had. It ended up. They scrapped it though in '96. I think it had an engine fire. I think I'll have to check back, but yeah. Volvo Olympia was going about, and yeah. Anyway, I think I didn't expect to be on as long. As I say, I only felt like an hour and 20 minutes. Although I've been on, well, an hour and 10. I've been on this for 2 hours and 20, and I only felt like they should bring back this. I don't know, each bus like the Finchley show. Oh, you know what? That is incredible. You mentioned that. That is amazing, because yesterday we were speaking about bus branding, and you mentioned it. The coincidences, by the way, are off the scale. There's so many coincidences, I just have the scale. But no, bus branding, in my opinion, I think it's a gimmick, and I don't like the idea. The reason being is because we're short of buses. If a bus breaks down and that's the only bus available, and they put that on because they've got the wrong branding, you know, it's confusing. They can't put it on the route because it's branded for that route. I've never been into that sort of gimmicky thing anyway. I think, I mean, some people like it. Yeah, some people think it's a great idea. But like say, if it's branded for the route, that means it could really only ever be on that route. But if it's a spare bus, if it's the only bus available and it can't go the route because it's not on the route that it's branded for, then it's going to be running around A on the route that it's saying that it's branded for another route, which is confusing, or B, that they won't put it on that route because it's branded for the other route. So it doesn't really make much point, in my opinion. They never used to do that. I'd rather the bus just be unbranded and go on whatever route's necessary, but genuinely stay on a certain route like they used to. Like a certain batch of buses would genuinely run on a certain route, but now and again they'd be on other routes, but it would be no big deal. They didn't have big branding saying it has to be on that route. I don't like the idea of it personally. I think it's too much of a gimmick. It's silly, because then they're kind of like having to, when it comes to putting it on another route, it's just, they can't change the branding. It's going to be branded for this route on a different route, and it happens anyway. And some people, because I've had people coming on my bus thinking it's a 5, but it's an on the Whitfield in 17, but it's branded for the 5, you know. And they thought, because they're running up and they see the back, no, they just think it's a 5. They don't even look at the destination on the front, or the route number, or even if it's on the back, they just ignore it subconsciously and just look at the branding, because they're in a rush to get it. They just see the branding, oh, that's a 5, well, I saw the branding, that's a 5, let's make it run before it pulls off. And they've got to say, they've put in, got the ferry or whatever, put a card and say, got the ferry, so that's a 17. And they say, oh, right, it's branded. It's happened a few times. What's the point putting a branding on it? No, I don't agree. Well, no, I just don't like it. I mean, I'm not saying that they shouldn't. If some people like it, if they like branding the buses, and yeah, fair enough, but that's my view on it anyway. They should bring back slogans. Yeah, Finchley Shuttle and Whitfield Hopper and 22 Prime Route. Prime route? What? All these funny names. What was the Douglas? I can't remember what Fintry shuttle. Some people like that. Some people thought it was quite smart, a slogan. Some people like slogans. Oh yeah, yeah. I suppose I may be born. I've always been that way. I suppose I've never really been a sort of slogans in this. Well, I don't know. But at the moment, they're actually. Well, you see, as I say, yesterday was just blethering away at them, talking about route branding, and it comes up on here. But they currently are taking the branding off the buses. At the moment, they're taking it off. They're unbranding them. Or they're trying to unbrand them. Like, they're trying to unbrand them because the insides of the buses, I could never understand this either. The insides, the panels insides are branded within the panel. So the panel would need to be changed. What the heck did they go and do that for? That means interior is constantly saying for the life of the bus it's on this route. I mean, why the heck did they do that? That means they can't change the interior panel. That's nuts. And they're taking the exterior branding off. Yet the interior panel's got to 22. What did they do that for? They could have put something on it, like a poster, the cellophane, if they really wanted to. I don't get the logic sometimes on certain things. I miss the old town when the buses stopped outside Millets across Colgate. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, the buses used to go through the Kilgate, stop outside. The farm foods that was here for donkeys is gone now. The end of the Murray Blether, do you know the channel, right, that I watch? And I'm sorry, I guess you watch as well. I've seen you watch. I wouldn't name the channel, but I've sent footage to that channel. Now you probably know that the channel that we both watch in common regarding the phenomena of the Mandela effect. There's lots of channels online about the Mandela effect, but there's one that I find interesting. I think you've probably find this interesting the same. I don't know. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I'm sure you do. Yeah, I can't get his channel at the moment. There's something, his channel goes off and on something, but I met him. It was a very 6 hours. I had a very interesting talk in that. It was amazing. To actually meet someone face to face and speak about the Mandela effect like that, and he really knows his stuff. But anyway, I sent pictures. I took a picture. I took a picture of a picture. Regarding that area as a historical picture, and I sent it to him via email because this channel has mentioned things about details regarding historical pictures. So I had that in mind when I sent it down to him, and what was sent back to me was very interesting. Now you know what I mean when I'm referring to historical pictures and what to look out for in them. Well, there was things highlighted on that I found very interesting. How do we interpret history? How do we get our knowledge of history? When we get told history, we see photographic, exactly what it was. Photos, like for example, I was saying, it's amazing what you could, photos. The technology these days, what you could do with pictures, how can you could alter, things could be altered. I'm not saying specifics, but it's just when you mentioned that area, like if you are in you might know, you'll know Dundee well. There's photographs of that area. I won't say the pictures that photograph, but I will say you could go into the Overgate in Dundee, right? And there's old historical pictures on the walls, and there's a picture there with one of the buses that I find interesting, one of my favourite buses. Stopped outside that stop. I looked at the picture as well, and I was remembering what was said on the other channel, and I took a Yeah, so I looked at that picture anyway and I found it very interesting. Now, I've sent pictures to that channel regarding historical pictures, and he sent back highlighted areas that are of interest. So, and you know what I mean about the channel, the common denominator about that channel. We know what we're talking about. Well, anyway, just sort of thinking about that. When you mention that area, there's things that are interesting. That remember what that channel said about historical pictures, and then apply it to these photos. That one, there's things highlighted in it. When I look at pictures that are interesting in my mind, it's just like once you see something, you can't really unsee it, you know. And yeah, and I see it now in lots of them. I mean, lots of them, and not just that, even footage as well of things that are recorded. I could look at. Take for instance, right? Not heard from him. Well, no, I haven't heard from him in a while either. Cobbled roads that changed time. Yeah, that's right. The cobbled roads as well. That's another one. Yeah, that's another one. That's one that I related to because I picked up on that one when I was watching something, and I noticed right away there was a change. It didn't make any sense. It was really, really strange. Because I know I used to work just up from there, and I know what the road suffers, and something happened on that road as well because there were cobbles. I was just getting a lift home, and in somebody's car, and you know what wet cobbles are like when they're wet. Well, in instance, something happened, and I remember it for that reason. So, and according to that picture, or not the one that there is footage online, anyway, suggests otherwise. It really is bizarre. You'd look at that and you'll know what I mean. But the Mandela effect thing is a very, very fascinating subject. Yeah, there's things that I've seen on images, footage that I've seen, things that's happened, things that are recorded to have happened down in London and that, you know, places, and it's all over the internet, and I've looked at footage and I've applied these things that were mentioned on that channel. Me knowing right. Proportions of when if you look at footage, right, things that are further away from you should appear smaller. Well, I've seen footage with things that are further away that should appear smaller, appear to be in a size that doesn't really, that makes me wonder and question how is it the size that it is. And this footage is footage that people, well, let's put it this way, this footage may be influential. It's recorded footage of incidents that supposedly have happened. Yeah, there's things on there that I've looked at and I question, how does that make sense? You know, I'm not going to name them, but I apply the things that were mentioned on there. And I feel as though others that are on here are being elated out, so I better not, because you know what I'm talking about. Line from the Wizard of Oz, yeah. The Tin Man never had a phone on. Yeah, see the Wizard of Oz thing? I never really got into the film anyway. But there was somebody that really knew it very well. And she could have swore that it was a certain thing. There was something in it that she was certain, 100%. And when I showed how it changed, then the mind was changed. You know, changed their mind. And I saw it happening. It was just like mind control. It was unbelievable. It was 1 minute they're 100% certain, and the next minute it's, when I show proof that it's changed, it's all, oh, it must have been wrong kind of thing. I'm not naming who they were or anything like that, but it's not them. I'm not blaming them. Not blaming them. There's a phenomenon that's going on that's causing this. I've seen it happen more than once. That's just one example, one prime example. There's other examples like that, where people were absolutely certain that it was this way, and then when I show it's changed, and they're like, oh, maybe it was, maybe it's changed. That just doesn't make sense. When people were certain before, they were certain, they just stayed adamant. But now, when they show them the changes, it's like the update, they just change, and suddenly they were 100% certain before, more than 100% certain. I tested them out, and then when I show them proof, they just change their mind. And it's frustrating as well. But it is a phenomenon. There's something. Well, yeah, I just broke signal again. It's so annoying. It took a good minute to reconnect. I don't know what happened there. Oh, it's probably going to break again. It's so annoying that. I just hate it when it interrupts. It just breaks signal, and then it just goes off, and then they get the thing going round and round. And I think I'm live again anyway. It's bright on this side, so hoping it's okay on your side. I find it sliding into alternative around 2070. Yeah, 2070. Well, mine's, for me, for the Mandela effect, was late 2016, autumn 2016 is when I came across the phenomena name online. But even well before that, it's like some things that resemble that I've experienced. Particularly one in 2007 when I came out of the work at Cedars regarding fence posts. There's other things, and there's the things that follow, unexplained things. Then the busted, of course, from 1987, which is since 87. But 2007 was certainly a notable one that I remember. I came at the factory one time, and these fence posts were there that weren't there before. And I always go by that way, with park up and walk past them coming in and out, and just one time they were there, and looked like they'd been there for ages. And there wasn't any work going on. They weren't put there by any workers, because just a couple of hours, or a few hours, 2 or 3 hours before, I was out on my dinner break. There would have been evidence of work starting and commencing, for the size of posts, and there'd have been evidence left. And I look at them, and they looked like they'd been there for ages. And that was 2007. So, but 2016, something happened in the spring of 2016. There's just the mindset changed, because it changed. Yeah, it changed. I thought then, there's opened my mind to a lot more in spring 2016. I just can't really understand how to explain it so well, because it'd be too easy to jump to the wrong conclusion if I try. There's not an easy way without actually specifically naming a certain channel, which I don't want to do at this stage, because I don't fully understand what's happening. I'm trying to learn I'd rather know first how to word it before I go and word it. But I would just say that spring 2016 was like a tipping point then. Before I always knew there was things odd. There was no change in that, there was no denying it. But I always used to have in my mind that there's scientific reasons for it, and I'd believe in the system, and it was like that, the system, that we're living now. I had more faith in it then, if you like. But from 2016, I knew that up to build of that, I knew more and more we were just being conned and ripped off and enslaved. But 2016 was like a tipping point, and I knew that I see things differently from then on. I've never changed my mindset from that. It's just so obvious, anybody who's meant to know and can do and will do. I don't know any more than anyone else, or any less than anyone else. Nobody knows any more or any less than anybody else. We know what we're meant to know when we're supposed to know it, when it's right, it's balanced out correctly. But I believe anyway, at least I feel on that. But the 2016 spring, something is definitely. Before that, there was a point. I knew there was always things, but I always had in my mind that this top secret, it's kept up public domain, but it's just controlling it. That we had faith in it, and the system would think that they were looking after us, and we would things that your system were there to try and improve lives, keep us, for our well-being, and put us first and for a fair world and meant to be trying to get that. But then when I got to that side after that spring, I saw things how they are and how it could be not the case. Let's put it like that. I'm not saying one way or another, but let's just say how it may not be. Let's say I've lost the mindset of thinking that, oh, they wouldn't do that to us. They bloody well can do, but not necessarily that they are. It's that it could be done. And from things that are going on, it doesn't make sense. Like, for example, just as an example, it's quite a well-known one. How many, like, go to watch Guy Fawkes and watch thousands of pounds just being literally burnt? Right? Now, you could say that for a lot of things. I know that it's controversial, right? And how many reports have you heard? I'm not saying either are true, I don't know, because I haven't first-hand got them. But what I will say is that that's the reports that are said, that they're reporting it's happening, that there's starvation and famine and poverty. And you go out and you can see what you can see, that you interpret it to be what's happening. You look and you see that I see poverty in the streets, you know, beggars and people homeless, and you see that, you interpret that that's what's going on, and you also see and are aware that there's money literally being burnt, on the literal sense, thousands, if not millions over the years and all over the country, whilst that's going on at the same time. And we believe in powers that be that are for our best interests. The sense and logic in that, to me, I can't find it. Maybe before, oh, that's how things are, you know, acceptable. Is it really? I mean, really? And then it goes on and on, the list goes on. I mean, everything that we do. I mean, you got past someone that you see that's homeless, or you believe. You see, you process in your mind that they're sitting there, want money, process, come up with homeless, starving, poverty comes to mind. You've got a Tesco's, you've got Marks and Spencer's, you've got a designer gear shop there, you've got charity shops there, right? And you've got shops that may sell the same thing at all different prices. The price differences, what logic do we work in when we do that? Where do we put our money? We'll just buy stuff off, could we save money there? But we spend money, we throw money away. We walk out, we think ideas put into the head. I'm not saying that that's what's happening, because I don't know. I don't know who they are, personally. So I don't know the situation. But you look and you take on what you take at a common, you apply, because common, anything that you apply as a belief method could only ever be the strength of belief. You could only believe, could only ever be the strength of a belief. But even as far as seeing what you see to believe, it can only be as strong as the strength that you believe to be true. And it goes into a lot to think about. Everybody learns the same, but at a different rate. Yeah. Sorry, I took a job. Sorry, I took the job. Never been same since. Oh, the amount of people I know got plastic on this computer. Yeah, you see that about what you're taking there. You took that. Now, I know people. I've heard it being said to me. I've heard things being said such as, I'll never take that, I'll never ever take that, I'll never take it. However, do the people that say that, do they drink and eat the stuff that they buy from shelves and drink the water from the tap? But there's a difference, you see. Do they know everything that's going in? Do they know what they're eating and drinking? What they're analysing? And they say, I've heard being said, I'll never take that, I'll never take that. So I'll put it another way for others that are in here that can make it understandable. Let's just say they're in a situation, there's a substance, right, that you're being offered that you could take to improve your, through an authority. No, I won't say that either. Let's just say you put your faith or interests and believe in a system that you'd put your life on, that you accept stuff from, and you offer you something to put into your substance, into your body, right? So you do it through your own choice, but you also buy stuff and eat stuff and drink stuff from the same authorities. So you don't know. If you drink or anything, you're putting your faith in, blind faith in it. If you're putting something in your mouth and drinking from something, like, do you know where all the stuff's come from that you're eating and drinking? So unless you do, you're putting your faith into it. You don't really know, and you only put your faith in it's okay. That's only the strength it could ever be, unless you actually know every single process it's gone through from the moment it's been produced to the moment you eat it. But if you don't know the process, you just assume then that it's okay to eat it on the belief that they would never do that. It would be fine, you know. And if it's offered to you to put something in your substance and you say, no, I'm not going to do that, never ever do that, never do it. But yet if at the same time you're doing stuff by taking stuff from the same principle, by not knowing what you're putting in, that could be put in there as well. You know, it's more a kind of like psychologically, if you choose to or choose not to, whether you choose to or choose not to, it may, if you don't know what other means you're putting in, it could end up there as well if you don't know it, if you're not aware of it. So, and then on the other hand, if you have taken substance, how do you know what's actually been put in there? Has it been examined? Has the substance that you've been put in, and how do you examine it? How do you know what's been put in? And how do you go about finding out all these things? You use instruments, but where do the instruments come from? And how do you know what the instruments are reading? How do you know how much filters are on there? And what exactly is the full definition, scientific understanding of the substance you're putting in? On the other media, information received. You could receive information in your favour, you'll be biased towards it. If information's going along the lines of your thinking that supports that line, you may be biased to believe that, as opposed to the other one. But it's a belief method. You believe that side because it's more on the line, or you believe that side because... But it's still a belief system. And, you know, it can only be, if it's only based on belief, then it can only be based on belief, unless it's actually gone down to the physically finding out every single thing from the substance being produced to ending up in you, to find out the whole trace and never let it out of sight, so you know exactly what's happening. And even before that, the substance has got to come from somewhere. And where does that substance come from? It comes from other substances. Where do they come from? How deep does it go? How far does it go to put other alterations or whatever could be done in there? How far do you go other than just simple blind belief that, no, I won't do it. However, you could take something from elsewhere, or yes, I'll do it. But then you don't know. It might be nothing. How do you know? How do they know? How do you know it's been put in? That's the thing. Other than what is information's available. It's the information that's available. It's all about information. And if it's about information, that it can only be information coming in, processed, that's in the head, is what you believe. And that information's processed and goes through your belief systems to make you decide to make decisions on what movements and actions you take. This is influential. If you're influenced by it, if you allow yourself to become influenced by it. Just like this video, if you're watching this, your mind is allowing you to be influenced to believing that you're watching someone sitting in a car talking that this event is happening. Whereas only you're looking at light from a device and listening from sound. Oops, maybe a bit dramatic. But you're listening from sound. And it's your mind that's doing putting you into the picture of what's happening. You're believing the image, or accepting or allowing the image to be presented in your head that this is happening, and the language that you're hearing is just ideas that your device is putting out to you. I don't actually know what you're hearing, but I can only believe, and myself included, that I'm looking at a device that the signal's being decoded down all the technical stuff and sent out to being decoded and then received and then reproduced on the screen for those listeners, whoever's watching it now or later, to hear and see. But that's only through the belief. I don't know the processes that's actually happening, but we put our faith in it. It's like everything we do, even getting into an elevator. There's a good one. Getting into a lift. An elevator, I don't know why I said that. It's a lift, for God's sake. A lift. Getting into a lift in a multi, right? You put your blind faith in it. Do you see the cables? Do you see the structure that it's in? We're programmed to do that from birth. We put our faith. Well, okay, I'll come back about on my word there, and maybe go into too much. We may be programmed since. Let's say if we were programmed from birth that to practice a mindset to accepting things that we don't see or fully understand, but just accepting for granted that it's okay, like going in a lift. If you don't see the condition of that cable, right? Never mind the gravity brakes and all the safety stuff. Just as an example, for argument's sake, for simplicity, let's just say if the cable snaps, the lift goes down, you get, that's game over, right? There's obviously other things, safety, but, well, you think there is anyway. But the cable anyway, you're only assuming then that it's safe. You don't really give it much thought. The thought's always there in your mind, but it's trained to do that. You're trained through years. Peer pressure is probably the best. I find it amazing that people could say, oh, I'll never get peer pressure. I used to do it myself. Oh, what? A live call on a live stream. How do I do it? How do I go about that? I've only got a one device there. Oh, no, you're not, son. Oh, God. I just get distracted easily. But yeah, you go into a lift and you're putting your faith into that, and it's been programmed or trained or exercised to do that. The more you do it, the more you accept it. Well, it's like a lot of things: what you eat, what you drink, and likewise the other way, what you don't eat, and what you think you don't eat, and what you think you don't drink. Substance may end up in other forms anyway. It might make one wonder if you believe in what could go on, that if they wanted to put, let's just say the powers that be, let's just say there's a planet, right, that has the powers that be that want to put substances into their fellow, maybe not, I don't know, you can't say their fellow if they would be doing that, but into other living beings, or other beings, right, and they've got all the sophisticated techniques. Now they could do it voluntarily, or they could do it covertly. Now covertly can be done if you believe that they can do it, or what they're told. I think it may be understood that if you don't know where your food or substances that you're putting into your body come from, it may be easy to understand that if you don't know what's happened since it was being produced to the second you put it in you. Anything could have happened. Now let's just say you think that it's going to do this process because books or such and such say so, right? But it's quite easy, yeah, they say so, but it doesn't say there's things that it won't say so. That could be easily something added there that you would detect, and then you wonder what's the difference is, and then they just give another story, say, oh, that's because of this, or maybe this new substance is the case. But it could be a cover. You just don't know. In other words, you don't really know what's going on, what you believe we don't. Again, I can't. Everything I say on here isn't set way as to how it is. I'm just expressing my views. That's all I'm doing. So don't quote me on it. But I feel as though I could safely say that if you don't know what you're putting into your body, if you haven't seen it being produced, right, to the moment you put it in, then you're only assuming then that it's okay, that because it's a reputable, on the belief that reputables are, they wouldn't do that. But how do you know for sure, other than the belief that they wouldn't do that? And more people know personally, yeah, the news and then that needs to ramp up the virus again, I think it's coming. At the end of the day, I think we're mercy and we are done for. But yeah, well, the thing is, I never give in either, because as soon as you put a cap on it, if something says that's it, it's game over, if you're beat, right, you're automatically saying there could be more, because once you put a barrier up and say that's it, you've hit rock bottom, you can't go any further, it can't get any worse than that, right? That automatically means that it can get either worse, better, it could get you better. It opens more possibilities, because if you put a stopper on it, all the possibilities open up even more, because it just simply reverse. If you put a stop, if you say something can't happen or reach a certain point, you just flip it. It can be flipped and it goes 180 degrees out. In other words, if you think, it's a very odd way of thinking, but if you, for example, have a glass of water and you say, well, I've drunk it all, that's it, empty, there's no more water. Right? It could be actually on the continent, it could be further from, it could be just ready to fill up with more water. I maybe haven't got a good way of explaining that. It sounds ridiculous if you don't. That's what happens if you half bake saying something, but one British says it. If you think you've reached the end, if you don't know what's going on or what else is going on, I wouldn't just say that's it. I can't go any further than that, and should all just give in and that's it. We're beat. It's the exact opposite, because it's got to be more than that. Because it can't. There's no definition of anything, if you like. There's no end to anything, so it can't just be ended and that's it. It just means there's another chapter or something else, or it just opens up the gateway to something else. There's no end here and there. There's no definitive division. There's no definitive. There's always more. So if you think it's just ended at that point, there's always more. Because nothing could end or start. Nothing could. There's no. It's like the highest number. The number's just, you think, oh, I've reached 1 million. I've reached 1 million, so on, so on. But it just keeps going and going. Anyway, I think I'm going to have to go. Did you? At the end of the day, I think we are all mercy. Did you take this? Yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's really the way I look on it. Whether you voluntarily take them or not, the way I look on it is it's not going to make any difference, because there might not be anything. There is like a meteor. It's like, what's that word? Placebo effect. There's a story I heard at the museum today, actually. It's along the sort of principles of this, by the way. It was a story about a tram. Okay, I'm not going off tangent now. This is related to one. A tram driver. There was this video. There was all these old tram drivers, tram stories about the trams. And there was one where the driver was talking, or the conductor, was talking about a funny story that an elderly lady with the tram, regarding the trams, going to be back in the Dundee trams in the 50s and 60s. An elderly lady was known to them, and one time she came on the tram and says the step of the tram's too high. So the conductor, went and done something, right? Didn't actually do anything to just the level, but the power of suggestion. He turned the handle on an emergency brake a couple of times and then turned it back again, but didn't do any of the adjusting. But the suggestion, the power of suggestion. So she says, done that. How's that for you? And then she said, oh, that's fine. But he didn't do nothing. He turned the handle on the brake or some emergency and winded it on and winded it off, and then says, how's that? Is that better? And she said, yeah, that's right. It's a power of suggestion, so it's like, as you say, power of suggestion. I kind of lost myself. I know what you were asking, but yeah, well, just to get back on track. Talking about trams, getting on track and off track. No, there was a reason for why I did that. I'm just getting tired now. But yeah, the power of suggestion. So if you're suggesting that something's going in to you, and you start thinking that you feel odd because of people or things are changing, whatever's gone into the body, you don't know unless you actually gone in from the moment it's been produced to the moment it's gone in, and you know what's actually going on. And you're only putting in, if anything, there may be nothing in it. If you get what I mean, you might think the placebo effect that is doing this. Yeah, I'll tell you, it's an odd one, and it's bizarre, and it's really odd. I feel odd about the whole thing. But yeah, I wouldn't really, who knows what's actually going in. Whether you've taken them or you haven't, how do we know? And as I say, unless we know exactly what's going in. Unless, right, how do you know otherwise? If anything other than, say, bugger all. something that does have no effect, right? Just for argument's sake, we'll just say a substance that doesn't bugger all. Like, I don't know what water would do if you put water. I have no idea. I'm not a chemist, I'm not a biologist, so I wouldn't know. But let's just say you were injected with something there's nothing in it. Shit. Let's just say, well, the body, to ingest substances into the body, there's lots of ways you could do it. You could drink it, you could inject it in, you could smell it in, it could seep in by your pores. There's lots of ways, right? Injection, you could inject stuff in, you could drink substance, it'll end up in your bloodstream. You could breathe it in, it'll end up in. So regardless, so if you, let's just say you drank it or injected it in, or you breathed it in, or you touched or come in contact with it. If the substances want to get into your body, right? Let's just say if you breathe this, if you were told that if you drink this, it'll make you feel better, right? And it's just say, we know, we're in the heights, it was a glass of water. You drink it, it'll make you feel better. But you're told that this is magic. You drink this, you'll feel better, right? And you drink it and you start, or you might start thinking you feel better. And there's another thing as well. If you, this isn't my idea, this one, but if you show colours, if you say, if you show finger, I think, what was it? No, this one I read into. But it's like if you kept telling people you see 4 fingers, well, you actually see 5, but you know what I mean. 3 fingers and holding up, right? And you kept saying, no, you're seeing 4, you're seeing 4, you're seeing 4. You say it over and over and over and over again. And you convince them, brainwash them, 4 fingers I see. Or everybody else says it's 4, and you see it's 3. And then you eventually, do you convince yourself that it's twisting the perception of what you're interpreting? But yeah, if you accept things and believe things that are happening, you, I mean, since 2016, spring 2016, and the current date, I've never forgot about since then. So I haven't changed, to my knowledge. I still feel like the way I felt, which is liquid, confused, lost. I've no idea what the hell's going on with all this stuff, the bizarre stuff, and completely don't know. But what I do know is that time's gone by and this has happened and still here. I could say that, and time sped up anyway. But I can't understand how to relay what's going on because I don't know. It's something bizarre. It's like I don't understand it. And maybe you know it, but it's just not time to understand it fully yet. But with, you know, with Mandela effect, it just shows you, like I was saying there about what I was talking about, what you believe. Prior to 2016, I would have thought a wee bit more biased towards it, you know, more biased. Like, take for example the BCG at school. I think I've said that right. The BCG injection, 1988. I got it. I was 13. I think when you turn 13, you get the BCG. That arm, I think. But the BCG, you took that. You just took it. You know, nobody was saying anything. Well, I don't know what people were saying. I didn't ask everybody, but. All the ones that I saw, it just seemed to be the thing you done, and no, there wasn't any. Mind you, there wasn't an internet to our knowledge, well, to my knowledge anyway, like there is now. Like so-called controversial. There probably would have been, but it's just information didn't get around the same. There might have been theories on that as well, about the BCG. But the BCG I took, no question, I just took it. That was what you did. It's the BCG, isn't it? It's BCG. I can't remember what it stands for, but I was 13 and they gave you the injection, the BCG. But everybody just took it, and parents presumably wouldn't have a problem. There wasn't any. But was there a debate about it? There wasn't an internet like now, but it just took it and got on with my life. Now, I don't know what it did or what it's done. You know, I have no idea. We just got on with it, just took it and that was it. Queued up, got the BCG and then got on with it. I never thought much more of it. However, now, you know, that was 1988, but 2016, I would think more. I'd be like, you see things differently, or certainly see things differently. I had, you know, I took it. The reason I took it because why would I not? You know, it was a school. I was, you know, you know, at that age, the parents have a higher well, responsible for the kid, isn't they? Your kid at that age. So they took it. The BCG was well known to be taken. So, why would I not? I would just think, and that's what it was like back then. And I was more like that sort of mentality. You know, you take substances, that'll make you feel better. Got a chemist, got a cough, that'll help. You know, you've got to see them, you've got to, put your faith in it more. But it's 2016 spring, I thought more, well, I'm putting faith in it, but what's actually happening in the world, what's going on, you work hard, you educate, you follow the rules, within the, you follow what you put faith in the system's there to protect us and keep us well-being, interest. I never thought like that before as much. I always had in my mind there was more, but I was more thinking, but you think, like Guy Fawkes, for example, used to look forward to it, go to the bonfire night, watch the fire, watch burning, the firework display and everything. I mean, we'd still do it to this day. I do it every day. I mean, you burn a shitload of energy driving about, just racing around and that. It's still there, like, yeah, you put on burn money, like, but it's still, you're still doing it. And you go into shops, I'll go in there, I spent, £6 for a coffee and a bit of cake, right out of there. Now, I do know and aware, I've seen people that have got, well, you walk past, you see them on the street, so the mentality, it's sort of the mentality of it, and yet the fireworks, you spend the money, I can't even read that. Right, yeah. Oh, well, no, come on, it's not really relevant. I know what it doesn't really matter because, like you say, it's like I was trying to say, 2016, and the way I am now, I feel just the same, which is just confused about everything, because I know that there's a lot more going on than what we were told that could never happen. I tend to believe more what went on before, what the limits, what things were before that. But I was always aware and knew that there was more, and I felt there was always more. I was never convinced that was always the limit, but I was more inclined to believe that there maybe just no letting on. But no, at 2016, it's limitless. It's limitless. There's, it's limitless. There's no limits. We're told there's limits and restrictions. But no, I kind of what you're asking. It's a kind of like question, remember, this is live, and everybody, this gets watched, and anybody could read this online, anybody could go back to this, and it's personal things that I don't really go too much into. It's not relevant, it's a principle I'm talking about, but I wouldn't ask anybody personal stuff on here anyway, but feel free if you want to share it with the world, remember, because there's no rewind button on here. Yeah, there's more, but yeah, there's different. So like I say, I met the guy, Braveheart, you know who I mean. I spent a good 6 hours and the time just flew in. It was interesting. It's different when you know, well, I don't know them as such, but when you meet someone and get to know them more, you get to know a bit more about their personal ways and means. But no, I've always been careful about, I always like to think and try and be careful to avoid. It's like when I went on a stage thing, there was bugger, I'll mention it. It was Edinburgh Dungeon. There was this thing, you go into this Edinburgh Dungeon, right? And they pick the person in the audience to come up and act a part. You got to pretend that you're guilty, and then they go through all this acting. Oh, he's guilty, what shall we do with him and all this. So I got picked once, and I was just I didn't feel like going up, right? So my other mate went up. I didn't want to go up. It was amazing that I talked to the world in here, but when I'm up on stage, I didn't know how to do it. I always hate the thought of that. But no. But my mate went up. But I went back there again, my other mates with it. And this time, I did go up. Because I got picked. I know why they picked me, because I was on the end. They picked someone that's on the end, so it's easier for them to get up. If you sit in the centre, it's more of a scutter how to get in. So it's easier to pick somebody on the end to volunteer to go up on this box and pretend you're guilty, and they play the the jury, and you got to go along with it. And you say, is he guilty? And he said, you guilty of these charges, they asked me. And I just went, the more I asked, I just went, no. And I actually didn't go along with it. That was just me being stubborn. But I didn't want to go along with it, because they picked me to go up. Yeah, okay, I'll go up. Bugger it. Right, okay, they picked one, I don't really want to go up, but oh, fuck it, I'll go up then, and I'll be modest. I'll just go up there and okay. So you guilty of this charge? No. They expected me to go, yeah. So they kind of flustered him, and he went to the audience, he's guilty of it. And then they were put on a spot, and they wanted to go along with him. There was peer pressure into it. I didn't want to be peer pressured into it. And then they said something else, he just said, nope. It must have been the most awkward one. But somehow the audience said, he's guilty, but they must have a flow chart or something for somebody that was just being not going. I wasn't being awkward, actually. I was just being honest. I just wasn't going along with the game. I know it was fun, but I'm a bit like that sometimes. I don't like these things that put people up on, try and, you know, like they go on stage. If you're at I was at a circus just not long ago, and they brought somebody up on stage, right, and they went along with this clown thing, you know, this clown. I wouldn't do that, I wouldn't go on stage, but if they asked me and they said, oh, no, I'm sitting here uncomfortable here. No thanks, no thank you. And see if I did go up and they asked me to do something, and if, you know, if I was persuaded to go up on stage and go up, and I decided to go up, I wouldn't anyway, because I just wouldn't do it. If I didn't want to, I wouldn't. I've always been that way. If I says, no, I'm not going to do it. No, I was nicknamed Mr. Serious at school, whatever you get what I mean. That's what I was nicknamed, because I was serious all the time, and I didn't want it. I took it serious sometimes as well. But I was adamant. I said, no, I'm not doing it. No, I'm not moving. No, I'm not here. I'm just here to watch it. And not just, no, I'm not. And I would just, I wouldn't do it. But if I did go up, I'd probably just stand like that. If they didn't drag me up, I'd just be like that. And lift your leg up, say no, or I'd just walk up, say no, I'm good. Come on, I was somebody's huffy sometimes, but it's maybe just how I was. Still am. I don't like doing things I don't want to do, but yeah, I find it that way. Like but I went up and sometimes it's like, I don't know, I just start to go along, and it's like the thing that they have these cues and ideas, techniques. If you're in a group and it's like pass the buck, you know, you don't have to do it. Everybody else stands up, claps or whatever, or stands up and goes along with a song. I'll be the one that won't sing along. I don't like doing that. I don't sing. I don't like singing. But I just wouldn't do it to be awkward. I just wouldn't want to do it if I didn't want to do it. If it's like pass on the bit, they go like pass it on, and they come to me. Yeah, I know. So I wouldn't do it to be nasty. I wouldn't be nasty about it. So. But I wouldn't be like obnoxious or anything like that. I just don't like being prompted into having to sing along if I don't want to. You know, I just don't like the principle of it. Peer pressure into doing something like I don't like to do it. It's working on peer. It's like, no, I'd rather be showing myself up by doing what I know want to do. I don't want to do it, I won't do it. And, you know, it's like, one of the concerts, I went along with them. I drove them there to this show thing, and I wasn't really into it, like, but I took them there, and I wasn't going to sit in the car all that time, was I? So I went in as well. I've got the ticket, I'll come and I always see what it's about. It's not really a thing in musical anyway, but the crowd start going up and dancing along, because it's like a peer pressure thing, you know. It's like waiting for the singing and starting, and everybody else gets up, you know, and that makes me more determined. If I don't want to stand up, I'll be even more determined. I'll just let them be, you know, like then. Yeah, I'm not going to be nasty or look rude or be anything like that. I'll just, you know, I'll let them go. I'm not going to feel as though I've got to do it because everybody else doing it. I don't like that thought. I just go up if I feel like it. If I don't want to. If I just want to pay to sit here, I'll sit here. I'll not move. Just to stand and clap or stand up, you know. I wouldn't do it out of disrespect. You know. I don't do it to be disrespectful or anything like that. I'm not like that. I don't specifically go out my way to do that. But no, I just find the principle sometimes frustrating. That why should people automatically have to do something they don't particularly want to do? Why should somebody have to sing along with the song? Why should we have to? Because the others are singing along. I hate that thought. Oh, because everybody else is, you've got to do it, because that's what really gets under my skin. Just the phrase of that. Oh, everybody else is doing it, you should have to do it as well. Fuck off. No, what? Like, you got to support, talking about football and that again. You should support football. How do you know support football? Or go out and do this, you know, go on the buses. Why do you go on the bus? I don't know about like everybody else play football. What the fuck? I'll do what I like. You know what I mean? Why should I have to do what everybody else does? Like, oh, try and pretend to be in. I wouldn't even pretend to be into football. I was never into football. Everybody else was talking about football. I wouldn't be into football. I'd like be doing my own things. I've always been that way, and everybody who knows me knows it. I tend to do that. I don't do it out of disrespect, but it's like, you know, I don't get pissed at the weekend like everybody else. Kind of like, you know, what, like everybody else. Why should I have to do what like everybody else? I just do my own thing. I like being my own person, and I don't have to do what everybody else is doing. I just like to have my own freedom. It's the peer pressuring bit. Even though I do it every day anyway because of the law, but you know, I've got to abide by the law. I've got to dress when I go out the door. You get arrested if you didn't, obviously. I've got to follow with it. It's like you go to the hospital, there's this lane for going there. If you go there, you go on this side, you got to go, oh, that shit. But okay, I might be a bit blatant if I deliberately went. I know some people, and I know somebody would actually, but I wouldn't do out my way just to go in the wrong way, just to be, you know. But we're like sheep. We could be like sheep. I hate being like a sheep. I hate it. I just hate it. Although I do it every day and do it now because I use the language to communicate and using English. I never taught myself this language. It was taught to me. So I'm being like a sheep and talking the language. I do what I believe the restrictions are. I've got to go to the shops and buy food that I don't make. I don't know where it's come from. And being like a sheep, I've got to believe that the food that I'm eating is going to do me no harm. And I've got to believe that. I do it every day. I hate not having my thoughts that I could do. What? I don't believe I could live off grid. How could I? You know what I mean? I've got to go by the system. I'm sick of the system. It's an absolute... the amount of stuff that goes on is just... Oh, anyway. I don't know how I got onto that, but it doesn't... The complicated things aren't actually complicated. It's not a big thing. It's just simple principles that make all the complicated. It's simple principles that I put that are, and going on the principles of things. I make it sound complicated. I go on like that, but it's, you know, it's like, well, school's probably the earliest time that you pick up on these things. The feel of embarrassment, being and showing up. If you don't stand up like everybody else, you show yourself up. I fucking hate that. You know what I mean? Even when I was at primary, I still had this urge to be I hated and always have it, and I stood my ground, and I did, and I still do it, and that's why, I just, you know, it's like, I could name him because he's well known anyway, but it's like something that David Icke said. I've named someone on here, now David Icke's well known, but then I said that, but only on the belief that people know him well, because I don't know how many people know him. I only know that from the information I've received online, and other people, only the few that I've talked about, believe that they've got their information on that he's well known. He's a ex-BBC broadcaster in the 80s, etc, etc. But anyway, David Icke said something about, what was it now? God, I remember it, but it's just that word now. It was brilliant, and the feel of what others think or something. Once you escape that fear of what other people think, you're free. It was that. It was really good. However, I haven't forgotten. I only know it from the internet. I've not let that forget. I would have, but not. I got that information off. I only knew about his work, second-hand sources online. I did go to some of his live shows. However, right, I don't know him personally, but I only know I've been to live shows, a couple of them, and you see someone you believe to be the person that you've seen on the internet. So, for example, it could happen, right? I'm not saying it did happen. I'm not saying it has happened in this instance. I don't know, but isn't it possible that even me, for you and your perception, if you saw me walking past physically in the street, how do you know that it's the same person you're seeing on there? That it's not a double or a twin or technology that can make people look different to some. How do you know? In other words, even high profile figures like you see on that make influential decisions of what goes on in the laws and stuff. I'm not going to name any organisations, but you see them. Some people like go and think they could well-known, famous. They see them on the TV, but have they really met them? How do they know it's the same people they're meeting? How do they know if I haven't met them? How do they know it's not? How do they know that it isn't? But I'm not. It's a principle in putting across the principle. the band Ike because he tells the truth. Yeah, I know. I know, but I know that I know what you mean because I've saw that online, the reports of him being banned. No, because he tells the truth. You know what I like the so-called truth channels. I mean, it's anything you get online, including my own video, can only be second-hand information. It can only go on what you believe. It's a case of what you believe. To ban someone anyway, right? It's totally wrong anyway, because as soon as you ban someone, it just makes it more valuable. And they know that. So really, would they ban it? Why on earth would they ban it? It's like a movie that comes out. There's a film called Scum that was 1979. I won't repeat what goes on in it, but it's bloody graphically, mentally gets to you because it's quite an in-depth psychological, powerful movie. You got to be you got to hear and watch what's going on to psychologically understand how horrible, horrific the things that are going on. It's not so much on the graphical special effects, explosions and bombs and fighting, and well, there is fighting in it, but it's more the psychological aspect of it that's so powerful, because psychological is more powerful than physical, because it's the mind's more powerful. That you hurt your hands, you could heal up. It's just physical, well, my understanding of it anyway, but psychological is much deeper than that. And it gets to the psychological part, and the ban, the film, supposedly it was banned, but really it's promoting it even more. So it's promoting it even more by banning someone. I can never ever get my head. In fact, I don't believe it. I don't believe it like that. I mean, I just don't. How could that make sense? Why ban someone if you don't want to know? As soon as you put a ban on it, everybody wants to hear about it. I mean, come on, fuck, it doesn't make any sense to ban them. I'd like to go to one of his. Yeah, I would as well. Scum and the Daddy. I'm the Daddy. Yeah, that's right, Scum. The actor's name, Ray Winston, played Carlin. But it was a powerful film. Like, as I say, the psychological, the film with psychological, powerful effects, psychological. What's it? It's a psychologically powerful film. Would be it. It's not so much on there is blood and fighting going on in it, but it's more the things that are said, how they're said, the tension. You've got to be psychologically tuned into it to see how disturbing that it is. But if you watch something blown up, you can see the physics of something. It's how television works. You know, it's amazing how it does it, because again, the film Scum is only as powerful as you make it psychologically. It's anything you get on the screen, any device. It's only what you are making it as powerful. You only let it get to you as much as you let it, because what you're seeing is just light and sound. It's only just getting to you psychologically. You know what I mean? It just shows you how powerful we allow ourselves to be influenced by these devices, and devices as such. Borstal Britain. I might have to. I might have to look into that. It'll be interesting to see it. How you doing, Chris? Oh, hi. Hi. Yeah. I'm not great with pronouncing the names. Hi, Gaff Life 1. Yeah, I'm doing fine. I hope you're doing okay as well. Hope everybody's doing alright in here. Everybody, even if I haven't mentioned you, whoever's watching it later, I hope you're all doing well. The other one is it's made in Britain. The skinhead culture. Aye, gangs, skinhead cultures, and yeah. I mean, it's like, for example, I can never ever get my head around why. It's like everybody knows it's I'm just going to say principles. If everybody knows it is gangs that do things, get to get away and do it and continue to get away with it, never get prosecuted, how on earth does that work? You know, everybody else knows how good it is. Things are allowed to happen, maybe, I don't know. Can't say that on here because I can't. But it makes one wonder, how do some people get away with things? How do these cultures get to the level and there's recognition to what they've got? It's amazing how that can happen, you know. And yet at the same time, it's meant to be a system that's fair. You know, it's the fair, fair. You know, it's like a fair's meant to be balanced, equal, fair, like. But this isn't the one. The one we live in. I mean, I can't say, but you know what I mean. Is it like fair would be like fair, it'd be equal, like balance, you know, harmony. You know, I'm not saying system that we're living. I can't say that. You know, I mean, you know, you put something on a scale there. You got, like, for example, if you're loaded, you know, and you got those that are like got none that appear an understanding. If we have the understanding of the head that there's so much poverty and price and struggling and all the rest of it, you know, all the shit, and yet at the same time there's so much. Does it really? Does the scales work? Is it fair? I mean, is it really fair to think that one time is burning thousands of pounds a good idea if you believe, right? If you believe that there's poverty, and if you believe that fireworks cost thousands of pounds over the years, you believe that it's right or fair to have that and do that at the same time. Is it? I mean, just ask. I'm not saying on here. It's just a question: is it fair to burn thousands? Is it good to cheer, to think it's great, seeing all that money going up in smoke, and believe, have in your mind that even yourself might not be in money, struggling, and highly probable the way things are, that you're struggling and working hard for bugger all and just being a slave, you know, and watching all that money getting burnt and the cheering as well, you know, it's great, you know, is that good, you know, you work hard for and watch all that money, and then you could see all these money spent on all these big, huge buildings, and how big a house does somebody need to live in? And you have massive buildings, millions. We're told, as reported, you could find out or reports that it costs all that money, and how much have we got? You know, I grudge £6. That cost me £6 to get that. Fucking, you know what I mean? And there's people that have money to burn, and it's wasting it in there. The mentality of it. You know what I mean? You spend, and yet I believe I've heard of it before. This starvation, charitable, really good. I mean, cheering and watching all that money, and all these big shows, and you earning the football. How much does footballers make? I'm not going to get into that, but how much money is in that? I believe it's a lot, isn't it? I mean, if you were really, really good at a talent or a sport, or appear to be, and people believe that you are good at a talent and get lots of reward, more than what you could ever imagine, and is it really fair? I mean, you're working your nuts off and getting paid peanuts and get treated like shite and working in shitey conditions, blah blah, and you get fuck all, and you come out and you're all fucked and messed up, and that's good compared to some. You know what I mean? That's actually fine. That's normal to be that way. That's normal to enjoy cheering all these people with all that money. You know, fucking, it's great. I mean, think the sun shines out their arse, and it's great. They've got all this money. They're the ones, you know. That's excellent, again. And then we're working for peanuts and living in, not even afford to keep the house warm in the winter and freezing, and fucking running around in vehicles that are quite old and that need repairs, work, and have to, you know, lucky to fucking run around in a car. It's a luxury anyway, which will probably go soon, because I don't want people owning fuck all. I want everybody owning nothing and being happy. Be a slave, isn't it? But oh, fuck's sake. Oh dear. Somebody's came back on and said it's still live. Oh jeezy peeps. Yeah, come on. It was all about the price. My head's all over it, but it was all about time speeding up. It was only felt like a couple of hours. It's actually 3.5 hours. Blimmin' heck. Price of grub is crazy now. It's now in Iceland. Yeah, the price of food is going to the... It's nuts. It really is. It is. And what do we get told it's going up for? It's what the media say, isn't it? But again, I can't name anything or say anything. I'm not saying anything that isn't already known, and not actually saying anything. Like, I'm not naming anything, but I think it's... you just think about money, you know. Goes to certain places and not in certain others. And I don't run I wouldn't ever take the role of running the country. What the fuck, I didn't do that. I don't see anybody should be superior or run or tell people. But I suppose we're not really being told, we're just allowing ourselves to be influenced by what's on offer, aren't we? I mean, we go into shops and we work hard to going to buy stuff. Aren't we allowing ourselves to be influenced by what's on offer and saying that's the only way? Is that not what we're doing? Can't say, but it's just a simple asking. Is it? Is that what we're doing? You know, we're just allowing ourselves to become in this situation. How do we know our full potential? How are we ever going to know our full potential carrying on like that? But anyway, there you go. It's even the things that I grew up with and enjoy. I mean, yeah, we work on. Do we make good decisions when we do that? You know, or is it irrational? Is it rational decisions? I mean, we take a certain route. Is it the best route we take? Is it the most efficient route? Is it? Do we check? We just do it on impulse, and then at the same time, we're always wanting to do it as efficient as we can. But how efficient do we actually do it? It's maybe perhaps because we've never been taught how to do it that way. It might not be in their interest to teach us how to be as efficient as we could be, because if we were, we wouldn't have the stuff. We wouldn't depend on the stuff that's on offer to us that we allow ourselves to become dependent on. And if we become dependent on it, and they've got the control over it, does that not control us as well? You know, I get taught that from school, don't we? We get taught how to get by, so that's what we do. It's drummed into the so-called, what they say, the DNA. It doesn't mean it is, it just means that we've, like this peer pressure thing, you know, we go along and we do what we're peer pressures into doing. It just amazes me, as I say, that some people say, oh, they don't get peer pressures into it. Yet, if they're walking along with clothes on, going to shops and buying stuff, I mean, okay, to a degree, it's by law. You could challenge it. I mean, a lot of things will. How many people will challenge certain things in law to win their cases, or is it just a case of peer pressure? It can't be bothered, you know. Peer pressure it affects you more than you might. It may affect you more than one may think, you know. But excuse me, the cost of living, poor wages not going up by much. Nah, wages. You've got to fight for the wages. Can you cook? I'm in there. Can you cook? I'm in there. Look out for a. Oh, well. So, feel free to use my platform. Yeah, you could. That's good. Interesting conversation on there. No, I'm just talking about anything on here. Like, as what I said on the thing. Was it bangers, buses, and whatever you like, really? I can't read that with the bloody arrows in the way. It's just this, because what it is that there's an arrow right over the word. I can't get the last word on that until it decides it's going to. And I've hit the screen, sometimes it goes off, sometimes I don't. Burn water. Actually, see that thing about burning water? There's a couple of years ago, there was a garden in the snow. It sounds crazy, but there was a thing about setting fire to snow. No, there was a thing online that I watched about it. Now, my other mate, he knew somebody that could, is it a chemistry and that? I don't know anything about that. I only know, it's like a mate that knows a mate that knows a mate. But I know the guy that's nearer me, like, I don't see him that often, but I ken him. It's just like we see each other now and again. A lot of times he's doing other things. It's like a phase. Sometimes you bump into them and say, oh, I haven't seen you for ages. I can maybe come up for a bit and catch up, and then you've not seen him for a while. But there was a thing anyway about the burning of snow, and I was got a handful of snow, which is obviously frozen water, and it charred. I took a lighter to it and it charred, and I videoed it, and I've got the video and I sent it to him. To burn water, I mean, you to think that to burn water sounds ludicrous, doesn't it? But charred, and it wasn't the soot off the lighter that I quickly rolled out. But I sent the video to him, and he was interested, very interested. But that came to mind when you said that, I'll burn water, you know, as a joke. But you know, well, I presume it's joke. I don't know who I was speaking to. Burn water. I hope I can't cook. But yeah, it was that was a couple of years ago. It was an experiment. There was something online about it, and I tried it. I just got a handful of snow and took a lighter to it, and it charred. It didn't go on fire, but it did actually behave differently to what I thought. Water's actually behaving differently as well. There's things happening. there's different about the water I've experienced. Like when it rains as well, for instance, look at the ground and you can see there's a lot of suds and that. I got a wee sample of that stock sent away to my mate. There was like a yellowy substance in it, but other times it's like a detergent. And it wasn't like that before until recently. When I say recently, I say within the last few years. Oh, my throat's getting dry. Oh gosh, I'm gonna have to go. I need the toilet as well. 3.5 hours. It starts to only felt like just over an hour. As I say, this time's sped up by the factor of 2. I'm gonna go to Asda and get something to eat. Number tea. No, I was just taking a blather with you. See how he's getting on and looking at the charts and that. I talked about what I said I would. Anyway, I better head off. I didn't think I was going to be on this long. I always say that. I'll see what that chat is for. Where do you get your energy from? I don't know. Probably I should be burning more energy off. However, I know I'm overweight. Like I was listening to an audio book about the ultra processed foods, UPF. It's quite alarming. The audio book, it's can't mind off the top of my head. I'd have to go on my phone to get it. But as soon as I go in there, I break the feed on here. Oh shit! I can't remember what it's called, but I told you what it was. But it's ultra processed people. It's got the book starts to go a picture of a loaf of bread with the words ultra processed people on it. Yeah. But it's alarming though. But again, it's second-hand information. It's off the line. It's nothing I've verified. It's only information coming in that I'm listening to and getting information from an audio book that's shedding different informations and different lights on other information that has been fed into me. I've got told things from like school and stuff. I'm getting information from here now. It's available to me. It doesn't mean that it's true. It's just more information. It's interesting. I found it interesting just when you mentioned about energy, because of the energy that comes out of food and certain types of food and how the body breaks it down. God, I listen to it when I'm driving along places, so you know what it's like. You're filtering out stuff and getting stuff that's interesting. But there's so much in the book. Sometimes I've got to slow it down a peg or two. You get the choice to have it on setting 1, or you could drop it down to 0.95. So the book's reading a wee bit slower, so you get more time just to take in what's going on, depending on how fast the narrator is. But it's called Ultra Processed People, and it's got a loaf of bread. It's the thumbnail, or the book title, or the cover, or whatever. It's obviously a book, but it's also an audio book, because I'm listening to an audio book. But yeah, it's about how you lose weight, how you can't lose weight, how it's not our fault that if you're overweight, it isn't really our fault. It's the situation we're in. I haven't read it all, or listened to it all, but it's interesting what I've heard so far, and you know what you might think. It's quite alarming. You think the logical, you should do this to lose weight, and you might find that it's a wee bit different to what you may have thought. The obvious things what you might think isn't the case. It's quite interesting. Shows a different light on it. Makes you think more. It opens your mind more anyway when you hear different points of views on things. But 2016, as I say, April. Well, it was March actually. It was spring. 2016. It's when I really opened my mind up to. Oh, I won't go into the specific detail here, but I'll be on for another 3 hours and sitting there doing that. As I say, I can't word it very well because I don't know how to word it. I don't fully understand it, but how to go about it. But it's just stuff that, makes you wonder more. It's quite anybody. I think we all have it. We all do it. We do it every day. I just done it there and realised it. That was all. I just realised that nothing happened. Like, it wasn't like, the David Icke story, the way he says it in his book, how he got in, the information was quite amazing actually. It sounds really dramatic and really quite interesting and fascinating. But that's what he says in his book, what happened. And it sounds interesting. But I'm not saying that it's on a par with that, the 2016 experience for me. No, my experience wasn't anything like that. It just dawned on me. That's what it was like. Something just dawned on me on 2016 March. There wasn't a big sort of an amazing event, as I will describe it as, is how David Icke described his events in the early 90s, late 80s and the early 90s, in his books that he's published, that I've listened to, and just saying what he's referred to, his experiences on it. I find it quite amazing and very interesting and fascinating. But like I say, I wasn't there, I didn't see it happen, and just getting that information from his book, that information coming in is interesting and amazing. I put the value on it as what he's saying in his book. But what I'm telling the viewers, when I keep referring back to spring 2016, I'm not saying that it's anything like the par of what David Icke's saying on his book, how he got information from. No, it was just a simple thing, like I could just, something just dawns on me. That's what it was like. It just dawned on me. Something just dawned on me in spring 2016, and it's never left my mind ever since. Before, there was always something there, I always knew. Felt it because of what I've said prior to it. But you're more inclined to think along the narrative if it was drummed into you, I suppose. The impossible things that were, and then no, suddenly it's dawned on me. 2016, never forgot. Where do I get my energy from? Good question. I need to burn off. That's something very far this one. Even when I never stopped. Even when I was, all the years, I've always been like that. When I get into something, it's just never. The dad said that. I don't know when to stop. That's true. I don't know when to stop. I just don't know how to stop. That's true. I like that. I've always been like that. I don't know how to stop. I was 18 stone a few years ago. Wow, that's pretty good. Lost 4 stone. That's actually quite good, actually, because that was 19 stone in 2017, and I dropped down to 16 stone in 3 months. So by no, it was 6 months. Sorry, or was it 3? It was 4 months. I started on the 9th of October 2017. That was when we were going to Bridgeton Bus Museum. I said, right, and I was waiting. I think it was round about February. I dropped from 19 stone to, got down to 16. Which is actually alright. But, like that book, there's a suggestion that you could do all that. It's not as easy. It's a lifestyle and what you're subjected to, what you allow the, I know how it did. I know what I did to do it. I'm back up to bloody 17 and a bit now. All the effort is so much effort to take it off, and just no effort to put it on. But it was 3 times I went and lost weight. 2005 it was about the same. I was about 18 or so. I got down to 16, and then 2000 was the first time. I think it was about I can't remember, 17 or something. I tried to get down to 15 or something. I didn't get to. I got about 16, something like that. I'd like to just get back to about 15. I think it meant to be about 15 or whatever. I didn't go by it anyway, because it's just a lot, and I don't agree with it. Height, and because it doesn't take into consideration other factors. It's just a template to fit all, and I don't believe in that anyway. The height and build and all that stuff kind of makes you out to be overweight all the time, and you could be. I just disagree with it. Come on, I don't know. That's how you feel. If you feel good the way you do it, that's what you go by. You go by how you feel. Never mind what anybody else. It's how you feel. Don't think that they look the part. I wish I was like this person. No, don't. Just wish you the way you are, and just wish and stay that way. And just don't have to stay that way, but just stay. Just do what you feel like you want to do. That's what I'm going to say. But if you're going to make the effort to do it, just make the effort. But make it. Then if you're going to do it. Try and do it as good as you can. Like if you feel as though you want to lose weight, or whatever it is you want to do. It doesn't mean you've got to do it. It doesn't mean you're going to be any worse if you didn't do it. It doesn't mean you're any less valuable if you don't, or if you get any heavier. It doesn't mean you're any less valuable. It doesn't. It's what you value yourself on that, and that's what you do. You just don't. I don't cares what anybody else thinks. You don't. This is the thing about the system. It makes you're more prompted to be influenced by what others do, like this peer pressure thing. No, I'm going to end it. No, that's just. No, sorry, I'm going to have to go. It's way too long. I don't believe I've been on this long. I'll check the chat. I'm going to get going. There you go, mate. Got all the milk, bread, chocolate weight, and a job in weeks. Well, some of it works for some as well. I'm trying to lose weight. It's hard going. Yeah. No, what to do is just do what you believe to do, what you feel. If you want to get somewhere, the way I think is that if you really want it, you only live once. Well, not really. Well, yeah, I can't say that. I believe there's more to it than that. It's just like in that saying, you only live once, do everything now and that. No, I don't. No, I no, can't quote. Don't quote me on anything, but no, there's more to it. More to it. But do what you enjoy doing. If you want to do it, if you want that bit of cake, the more you resist having cake, the more you're going to have it, and the more you're going to eat of it. You just eat it, and then be done with it, and just keep doing what you're doing. The more you resist it, the more likely you're going to eat it, and the more you'll eat as well. I'm going on my experience. I can't say how you're going to do it because I don't know. I don't speak for everybody. I can't say it because I'm not saying this is how it is and this is how it is. No, it's just what I'm saying on how I feel. I'm just expressing how I feel on it like that. I think I should. I think if you try and resist it, you're going to be more inclined to actually have it more, and they probably eat more as well. It's like the film, like banning someone or banning a film just makes you more inclined to see it. That's the worst thing to do, and it makes me wonder, is that really, could they really be? How could they really honestly think that banning it's going to stop people? It just makes it even more valuable. No, is that better being fat and happy then? Yeah, well, it doesn't matter if you're over or underweight. Well, it only matters on how it matters on your health. If you feel as though you need to put on more weight, you put on more weight. If you want to feel as though you want to lose more weight, then if you feel you want to lose more weight, then lose more weight. Then do what you can. If you can't lose more weight, then so what? You just be who you are. Don't let it bother you. If you can't, there's a reason for it. Don't worry. If you stress about it, you'll put on even more weight, because when you stress, you eat more. At least I think that's maybe what that may happen. If you stress more, you may eat more. You may. I'm not saying you will. I'm not saying that's what you do. Perhaps you might eat more, and if you do, you put the weight on more. So there's no point stressing it. If the weight doesn't come off, then it's not coming off. Just stay with it. Just in your stride. Just look for other ways if you're still interested, but don't overexert it, because it won't do you any good. I reckon anyway. That's how I express it. I don't know. I'm not well, when they say expert, I haven't studied their ways or followed their recognised qualifications to become one like that, because I haven't went to the for those reasons to become a qualified a gym teacher or whatever the hell it is. I didn't go to any of that stuff anyway. They lost me. All I did was cut back on all the shit and went more walking, went to swimming. I went at that time. I had the spreads 4-hour breaks, so I walked in my work. I cut all the chocolate and crisps. I went to swimming. I ate sandwiches, fruit, and I walked back up the road again, and the weight came off. However, that's only not even half the battle. It's keeping it off. Now there's reasons why the weight goes back on again, and why there's reasons for it. It's not because you're a failure. You can't stick to your regime. No, that's not your fault. As the book I'm listening to is saying anyway. I can't say it either way. I would never on this video said this is how it is. Never once. I'm only saying that I'm not going to say. I think it's good to think that it wouldn't be you can think that it isn't your fault. That it's other factors that are out with your control, perhaps. If you buy stuff from places that you don't know what's going into, these substances that you're eating, that I'm eating, that we're all eating, but you may buy from, and what you may be eating. I don't know what you're eating. I don't know who you are or what your circumstances are. But you may be eating stuff that you don't know exactly where they've gone from the minute they're produced to the minute you eat them. You don't know. You may not know what's gone into them unless you, of course, know. Unless you've followed the process from the beginning, and even before the process, where the ingredients comes from, and when before the process even begins, the ingredients have got to come from somewhere. What's been added, unless you know exactly what's been put in from the minute it's been produced, and even all the ingredients included, to the minute you eat it, what it does to your body and whose fault, rather than just saying, I can't do it. That's my own fault. I just can't. I just keep going back to this habit. There's maybe a reason for that, with your understanding at this stage of controlling it. If we're taught only the limitations of what we believe that we're limited to do, then we're only just going to act that we're only limited, that we can't do it. We might even find that we can do it, we just don't believe we can do it. And it's not necessarily Not necessarily. I can't say. It may not be. It's only if you're not necessarily, if you don't know, you may not necessarily know it. You might read what's on the ingredients. That's one thing. Reading on the ingredients is just telling you what they're saying it's in it. That's all. You're going on that. In fact, if you made it, you only just draw to that. You may just go, or you might just, everybody might just go to the packet and say, says this on it, and calories and all that, and then go on that. But one, that's only what it's saying. Two, have you analysed it? Three, before that, all the ingredients, how do they know that's all in there? And even better, still, how do they know that they've not mistaken it and put a misprint on it? It could be, and it's not going shit. How do you know? How do we know? How do we know? I'm not saying it, you don't know. I'm just wondering, how do we know? How do we know that? I'm not implying, not implying, I'm not actually saying anything like that. It's just an open question. How do we know what's going into these foods and sort of substances or drinks that we buy? How do we know? Without actually going to where they're produced and what it does to your body and on the mind, and with the weight thing as well, how it produces, how the body metabolism. What else is going on in the world? Like, for example, right now we're using the internet, and what's the internet? It's from what I learned, it's 5G, which is microwaves. What effect does that have in the body? What effect does that have in the body chemistry and the body system? Does that affect the bodies and the foods? How does that all interact? What else is going on that we're told, and what else is going on that we aren't told? Is there anything else that's going on that we aren't told? What are we told that is going on? Could that be just a diversion? Could it be is it a red herring? Is that the saying or something? I don't know. But could it just be another diversion? To think that, well, maybe the Wi-Fi is causing this. How do we know that it's the Wi-Fi? I've heard ideas, read ideas. I'm not suggesting them on here like as such. I'm not saying it from myself. I'm only just saying my experience that I've read stuff that's online anyway, and then just saying that I've read it online about stuff about Wi-Fi and the effects on the health. And when we think about kind of lose weight, but there's reasons. I mean, this is the thing. Do we not? Why just think that? Why do we disregard that maybe perhaps there's other things like what affects us, what's going on with the food, the technology that's going on, is that affecting it? There's theories out there. But what I'm saying is basically there's factors that are going on. How do we know just everything that's going on that has an effect on our body? Then the old traditional chestnut, the thing like, lose weight, you cut back and do my exercise. Okay, it worked for me. Well, I lost weight, but it didn't really, because it's kind of gone back on again. But it has, and it hasn't. It's got better. But I don't know exactly what went on there. I just put two and two together. I just said, right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and somehow the weight came off. I don't really know what chemistry or what happened. I did change the diet a bit, but it just seems like the results is that the weight's come off. To do it scientifically, you've got to find out really what has actually happened specifically for me to lose that weight. What's actually going on. Something happened, because I know what I did, and the pattern seems that when I did that I lost weight. But I don't know the full ins and out chemistry of it. But you'd need to look into what's causing it, what's causing the drive to eat more, to put the weight back on. Lifestyles, age, metabolism. The list goes on. But anyway, I'm gonna have to go really. But I'll say if I take care, Chris. Yeah, take it. Right, I'm gonna get going now. Right, hope you've enjoyed. I don't know what to make of it. I didn't know how to end it. I'm just gonna have to end it, right? Catch us later on. Right, you all take care. See you later on. Bye for now.